Padres. First pitch tonight is set for 6:40. In NFL news, the Saints and wide receiver Chris Olave have agreed to a 4-year extension worth $132 million, including $90 million guaranteed. Running business and not thinking about radio? Think again, because people are listening to radio more today than they did 20 years ago. And only iHeartRadio connects with more Americans than TV, digital, and even social. Learn how radio can help your business. Call 844-844-iHeart.
It's Schaefer and Sliwa. John Schaefer and San Diego's own Alan Sliwa. You're Schaefer and Sliwa.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is Hour 1. We are back. Schaefer and Sliwa, Alan, Thursday afternoon.
Long time no see, brother.
It's been like 21 hours.
It's been a lot of hours.
What I have noticed, and by the way, Padres and Giants on deck, trade deadline approaching. What I have noticed here recently, I want to take people behind the curtains, behind the scenes. What has happened a lot recently is that I am running circles around Alan in terms of getting into the office much earlier. I'm just here.
What time were you here today?
And it's a co-hosted. It's Schaefer and Sliwa.
What time were you here today?
I was here at 8:40 in the morning. And you showed up at 2.
You showed up. You prepped for Colin's show.
I would accept.
You prepped for Colin's show at 9.
I was at SDSU.
Yeah.
And so I showed up actually here a little early. I was probably here at 1:40.
Yep. Oh, 1:40. Okay, you're here early.
Brian can vouch, or Jack Powers can vouch for me. I was here at 1:40. Jack,
it's a good name, by the way, Jack Powers.
It's a very strong name. Very strong. Better than what's the opposite of that?
I don't know.
John Schaefer. What'd you say?
Jack Weakness.
Jack Weakness. Very good.
Okay.
So I got here at 1:40, and then I'm just like, "Where's Alan?"
Yep. All right. Let's also take you behind the scenes.
Sure, take me.
We have not you, listeners. We have a rundown that we work on that basically to start putting in all the stuff for the show. And I don't know, around maybe 12:30, 1 o'clock today, I'm sitting at home and I'm saying to myself, you know what, let's be a little proactive, Slee. So I go on because you had sent me a text.
Yes.
Who, by the way, canceled our call that we do around 9:30 or 10. You're like, oh, I got SDSU, so I'll just see you in the office. Okay, that sounds good, buddy. So I get to the rundown around 12:30, 1 o'clock. I look at it. I'm like, hey, you know what this rundown looks like? It looks like yesterday's rundown.
Well, that's because I was at SDSU.
Right. She didn't touch anything.
Correct.
So what I did is I said, why don't I get the rundown going? So I basically put everything else in, put some sound in, got a couple of our questions for the wrap all set up, and I did show up here at 2:05. You want to know why? Because I spent a half hour earlier working on the rundown that you didn't touch.
No, but I'm old school. It only counts if you're physically here.
It's awesome.
So how people love now working remotely. I mean, it's changed the world. Like from COVID on, you could work in Seattle for a company in Seattle, but live in San Diego or vice versa. And it really is the best. But anyway, we're back together.
No. Real quick on the being remote thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God. The remote thing. When I was I was in sales for a number of years, right?
Yeah.
When I was here in San Diego, Mighty 1090, I was selling for about 5 years. Up in LA, I was selling for about 10 years. ESPN LA up there. And you got like different types of managers over the years, but this is all pre-COVID. Things did change post-COVID. But you got different type of managers where it's like, some managers don't give a flying what you're doing and where you are.
As long as you're working.
Just get the job.
But other people, all they care about is making sure you're in the building at 9 in the morning.
They want to see you 9 to 5.
That's me.
They don't care how productive you are.
I want to see you. I'm kidding. Anyway, here we are. Good show lined up. Padres-Giants. Padres trying to extend their 5-game winning streak. Wayne Randazzo is going to join us at 3:30. He'll be on the call for the Apple TV Padres game tomorrow night.
Yep.
He's the voice of the Angels. He'll join us at 3:30. We're talking Aztecs hoops with the newcomer, Isaiah C. He's a wing. And we're talking college football, NFL. Kirk Morrison, the Aztec for life. Great broadcaster as well, will join us coming up today at 5 p.m.
Kind of waiting for a little quick confirm text, but we can do that.
So
we were confirmed 2 days ago, but you follow back up.
You
want kind of like the same confirmation from there.
We'll just call
San Diego legend Kirk Morrison. Yes.
Okay, so there are some names that are coming into focus as it relates to the Padres at the deadline because it's kind of like a blank canvas, right? There's so many possibilities. That remains the case. Dennis Lynn wrote about it today in The Athletic that there are practically infinite possibilities.
I'm still confused
for
how
AJ
they get
Preller.
him, but okay.
How they get some of these players.
Yeah.
So Dennis Lin, I think for those that think that Preller's going to make the big swing like the Mason Miller Juan Soto, I think most people by and large don't think he's going to make that type of swing. They're 2 games over 500. But Dennis Lin today hypothesizing in some more reasonable names, like a couple of mid-tier starters, Kevin Gausman, for example, Freddie Peralta with the Mets, or some maybe afterthought bats. Mickey Moniak's a San Diego, and he's playing for the Rockies. He's played well against the Padres in his career. But some names coming into focus as we get closer to the deadline, and now becomes like, A, are they buying? Kevin Acee has told us yes on multiple occasions. And B, to what degree, Alan, will they be buyers over the course of the next 4 days?
Yeah, and I think the question for me, it's just as how creative is AJ Preller going to be? What's that path look like? Who are you giving up in order? So let's just use this as an example. And I've heard Dennis Lin say this. I've heard Kevin Acee say this, that the name that I keep hearing is Adrian Morejon, right?
You're saying.
To kind of try to shore up some of these other holes. Now, I don't see I'm kind of still trying to figure out the path of how they do it, but in order to add, they need obviously a starter. So I don't know what they can get for Adrian Morejon, but I know what they need. Is Adrian Morejon going to give you what you need? And oh, by the way, you just took your setup man out of that rotation, out of your bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I need to sell anybody on how great Adrian Morejon has been for the Padres.
Yeah.
And a lot of these times, we talk about how unbelievable Mason Miller is, but there's been a lot of these games where we get to Mason Miller because of Adrian Morejon.
I agree.
Now you got to give up something to get something. But that to me is, I think, the puzzle that we're trying to figure out. It doesn't sound like the Padres and it doesn't sound like AJ Preller, they're going to be taking on more money. So you have to be ultra, ultra creative in how you do this. And I know this wouldn't be the first time that AJ Preller does this, but you're basically saying this, Preller, you're not going to have extra money to spend. And not a lot of people are looking at your farm system as one of the top farm systems in Major League Baseball. It's actually ranked 30th. So how creative is he going to be able to be to address some of these needs for the Padres?
I'm glad you mentioned it. So Kevin Acee today in his newsletter, now he's been with us twice this week and said something similar, but he wrote this today. While the Padres do expect to be buyers, he then put in quotes, though one person familiar with their discussions explained the end result of being a buyer would likely involve some selling of major league parts. This goes to your Adrian Morejon portion of the discussion.
Because how else are they going to do it?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know if it's Morejon. I don't know if it's another piece. I don't think it's Mason Miller, but I do think the end result of them buying does involve some selling. So I still think there'll be a level of selling to address needs like the rotation, potentially their bench as well. But obviously the rotation has to be addressed. Can you do it solely from within your system, or do you want to up the level or caliber of starting pitcher you can go after and include one of your arms in your bullpen? I think that to me is part of the equation that the Padres are probably putting together, would be my guess.
Yeah, and however he gets there, I think if you lost Adrian Morejon, your bullpen's not as good. Period.
I agree.
Point blank.
Yeah.
And what the trickle effect of that is, now you could say, well, they just got Jeremiah Estrada back. Maybe they get Jason Adam back. But that's potentially going to be the cost of doing business. And I've seen a lot of people, we've talked to them, or you got a lot of comments here on YouTube. Adrian Morejon is not going to be a San Diego Padre after this year. So that comes into the calculation, right? I don't see a world where you're trading Michael King. If you trade away Michael King, you already have no starting pitching. So you might as well just sell off on everything else. So Michael King doesn't sound like that would be a player that can go. Would Ty France be a player that go? And I'm just obviously naming off. There's a similar theme to all these guys. Most of these guys you're just assuming aren't going to be on the Padres next year. So if you're using Morejon for that purpose to try to help you this year, knowing that he's not going to be around next season, it makes sense. Probably get the most value. A lot of teams out there need bullpen guys, but Morejon is a stud that you'd be losing.
What about Mason Miller? There's Jim Bowden today, 3-time GM in baseball, that said he will not be moved. There's Ken Rosenthal today. We're going to hear from Ken Rosenthal right now, the latest on the Padres and Mason Miller.
Padres are always a team to watch, and it is quite interesting what is going on with them. They've won 5 straight. Now, granted, it's over a struggling Miami team in Colorado, but suddenly, after jumping 4 teams, they're only a game and a half out in the wild card race. So all this talk of Mason Miller and Adrian Morejon getting traded could happen, particularly in Morejon's case because he's a potential free agent. But AJ Preller, what governs him always is an intense desire to win. He's not going backwards. So under these circumstances, while they are entertaining everything, as all teams do at this time of year, it's becoming increasingly difficult to see them trading the best closer in the game when they are finally playing like the team that they envisioned from the start of the season. So AJ Preller, always someone to watch in these circumstances. We see this every single deadline.
Interesting perspective from Ken Rosenthal that I think you and I tend to agree with, that Mason Miller, in all likelihood, remains a Padre after the deadline.
Yeah, I think that has been assumed. I saw this. I don't know if you saw this. The Jim Bowden. Let me read you the exact quote here from Bowden. Teams may offer the Padres their best prospect, and the answer will still be no. This is on Mason Miller.
Mm-hmm.
The only way he is traded is if it's a Juan Soto type of deal where the Padres get 4 top 10 prospects in return. There's only one president of baseball operations who would do a deal like that.
But the problem is he's not going to do a deal with himself.
So it's AJ Preller basically saying, hey, I want Mason Miller. And it's like, well, you already have Mason Miller. I want Juan Soto.
Well, you already did that trade for your players.
So I think that
that's funny.
Going with, I saved that one too. When I read it, I'm like, don't tell John this when we're prepping.
This is why you showed up late.
This is why I showed up late. I had that magic written on a sheet of paper. No, but I think the growing chatter over this last, I'd call it about 1 week, maybe a little less than a week, has been, we don't think Mason Miller is going to get moved.
Yeah.
And maybe some of that is just jockeying on the AJ Preller part. Maybe it is, yesterday you and I talked about this. If he got moved, wouldn't it just say AJ Preller's like, hey, I just didn't think I was going to get this much for Mason Miller. And I don't even think it's the caliber of what he did a year ago, because I think what he did a year ago, I don't think he's looking to take a sidestep. I think he's only looking to take a step forward. So it'd have to be a monster deal if Mason Miller goes. But it doesn't sound like he's going.
I don't see it. I really don't. I mean, you never know this time of year. I do agree with that with Ken Rosenthal, and you don't know with Preller. And Dennis Lynn wrote that today. He said, what we are writing right now has proved to be a tough science, because you can theorize with names and then they can do a 180 and acquire someone you never would expect them to acquire. So that does remain a possibility with the Padres at the deadline. Let's hear from Jeff Passan on the other side on Tarik Skubal's future. Where will he be headed? You'll hear from Jeff Passan on the other side. Wayne Randazzo, voice of the Angels, will be on the call for Padres-Giants on Apple TV tomorrow. He'll preview the series. Coming up at 3:30, don't go anywhere. Schaefer and Sliwa, San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app.
All right, San Diego Sports 760 has 9 chances to win $1,000 every weekday with a bonus bucks giveaway. That's every hour, 9 a.m. through 5 p.m. Listen for the keyword, then enter it at SportsSD. Next, sportsSD.com. Your next chance to win $1,000 coming up after 4 p.m. on San Diego Sports 760.
Wayne Randazzo on the call for Padres-Giants tomorrow on Apple TV will join us to preview the series in about 10 minutes.
Got a quick question for you. All those players that you named off, like what's, your I'm going to lean to you on this one.
Lean.
When you see those names that are out there, is there a name you're like, man, that guy would be a phenomenal pickup and a great fit for the San Diego Padres? Like if you're ranking a couple of those guys, who would you love to see?
Mickey Moniak, left-handed hitting outfielder from Encinitas, drafted first overall. That was a very late developer, so to speak. But has really performed.
He was the number one pick.
Overall pick out of high school 10 years ago. He's got an 883 OPS right now with the Rockies. He has really hit at Petco Park in his career. It's like 9 or 10 games, but he's really hit, including this past series. They need a left-handed hitting outfielder. So he would seemingly fill that void. Now, the Rockies are unconventional at deadlines. They don't always move parts for whatever reason. They're not the biggest sellers. Historically, you wouldn't think he would cost a lot. He is signed through this year. He would be a rental. The other name for me, when it comes to starting pitching, and there's going to be a ton of suitors, is Freddie Peralta. His numbers, when you look at them on their face, aren't great. He's had a bad year. But some of the indicating numbers, expected ERA is better than his actual ERA. Veteran, has pitched in big games, has had a good career. He's only owed 2.6 or 2.8 million for the rest of the year and is a rental. So like, I wouldn't think the literal price tag wouldn't be significant, and the actual return I wouldn't think would be overly significant for a rental either. Those to me are upgrades. Again, this isn't Juan Soto or Mason Miller, in their respective trade deadline cycles.
And I don't think this is the team to go try to, go try to get a player of that caliber.
But I think these are pieces that are necessary to put you in a position to hopefully vie for a playoff spot.
And realistic.
Exactly. Yeah. And realistic. So I think those are good names. And I agree with Dennis Lin that there'll be names that haven't even been written on paper yet that they'll have interest in.
Sure.
Something could be out of left field. No pun intended.
The question is, if those make sense for the San Diego Padres, then what does it make? How much do those players make sense for other teams out there?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
How much does that drive the price up? Yep. What are they willing to give up in order to get caliber of those players?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I look at, you may say on one hand, you're like, they need starting pitching. And you may say, well, do you need bad starting pitching? Like Freddie Peralta has a 5 ERA, but he's averaging 5 innings an outing. They already have bad starting pitching, right? That's what Brent's about to say. But he'll work, 5 or 6 innings. They don't have that guy. That's the question I would be asking myself if I'm AJ Preller or Padres fans. Can you really finagle your way through the next 54 games using a starter for 2 innings and then your bullpen for the next 7 innings?
I think we know that answer. I think the answer is no, which is why they'll try to address some of those needs. And then they'll also hope and pray that they can get some help, obviously towards the middle or the end of August. Just to hit off of that as well, can you rely on that pitcher in a playoff game?
You're saying whoever they acquire, if it's Freddie Peralta, for example?
I'm just Freddie Peralta.
Freddie Peralta has pitched in a ton of playoff games. So all of them with Milwaukee, 9 appearances, 6 starts. Hasn't been great, but he hasn't been terrible. 4.32 ERA, 6 starts. Now he's 1-6. For whatever that's worth. He's got a 4.32 ERA, but he's made 6 postseason starts. It's a good number.
And Milwaukee has been, awful in the postseason, or at least never lived up to some of those expectations. Yep. So how much of that is on him?
But doesn't that kind of fill a little bit of that void too? Because it's someone you can turn to.
I think it does. And again, I think if you're, the Padres right now, how many arms can you rely on? Period. There really isn't many, and I'm talking about starters.
Rotation, yeah, Michael King for me.
So there is a little bit of, I don't know if desperation is the right word, but whoever you're able to get or acquire is an upgrade. Like it's a necessity.
Yeah,
and that's obviously what they're hitting on right now. Do you want a conspiracy theory?
Sure.
Kirsten in the YouTube chat says MLB doesn't want to vote on Padres yet, because they don't want us to get better at the deadline. Can I just
the new ownership?
Yeah, can I just tell you this on how long this has taken? I think the thing that has bothered me the most is that all I'm hearing is like, it's going to happen right after the deadline.
Yeah.
No, but it's like, it's probably going to happen right after the deadline.
August 4th.
I'm not here for a conspiracy, but I'm just saying in general, is that really the timing of when it was supposed to be in June? That's when the conversation, that's when most people thought it was going to happen. And again, it doesn't, getting new ownership in, all it means for me is you could have had kind of more of your ducks in order here if this got finished in June or it got finished in, early July. If this ends up happening in, 2 weeks into August, it's like this couldn't have been done 2 weeks ago. Again, I know that's a conspiracy theory, but that's who doesn't like a good conspiracy theory?
I mean, to that point, like Dennis Lynn wrote today that, and I don't know, here it is. Team decision makers were scheduled to meet this week to discuss Monday's trade deadline and related financial matters.
Mm-hmm.
According to people briefed on the Padres.
I'm sorry, say that again. Say again.
That decision makers were scheduled to meet this week to discuss the deadline and related financial matters. So think about that. Because you can, as a GM, you can't operate without knowing what the financial pros and cons are. How much salary can I take on? Because that's a big part of it. Everyone's like, assets. How are we going to get Freddie Peralta? But you don't consider that if you acquire Freddie Peralta for minor leaguers, you're taking on $2.8 million in salary.
Sure.
So are they able to take on $2.8 million in salary? I can't answer that. Who can? Can John Sadler or is that Feliciano?
Or can they, but it's more of a question, do they want to? I mean, is new ownership saying, we're not spending another dime? Is new ownership saying, yeah, that's fine. You got up to $7 million to play with.
Right.
I don't know. I don't have that answer.
Put you over a luxury tax number? I don't know the answer to that either. All right. On the other side, Wayne Randazzo, he's calling the Apple TV broadcast of Padres and Giants tomorrow. He'll preview the series with us and the Padres at the deadline. On the other side, we're here until 6 p.m. Don't go anywhere. Schaefer and Sliwa, San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app.
Here's what's trending from the iHeart Sports Network, presented by iHeartAdvertising.com. The Padres and Giants are getting set for game 1 of their series tonight down at Petco Park. It's going to be Robbie Ray going against JP Sears. First pitch tonight is set for 6:40. In NFL news, the Saints and wide receiver Chris Olave have signed a 4-year extension worth $132 million. Run a business and not thinking about radio? Think again, because people are listening to radio more today than they did 20 years ago. And only iHeartRadio connects with more Americans than TV, digital, and even social. Learn how radio can help your business. Call 844-844-iHeart.
All right, Padres-Giants beginning a 4-game weekend series at Petco tomorrow night. You can watch it on Apple TV. Wayne Randazzo does a really good job on the call. He's with us right now on Schaefer and Sliwa, San Diego Sports 760. Wayne, we appreciate you taking time for us. Let's just start with where the Padres are right now. It's so crowded in the NL wildcard race. We don't have Wayne Randazzo with us, though.
Yeah, that was a
so
good,
here, you be Wayne.
Pump fake. Yep.
You be Wayne.
Yes, please. Go
What
ahead.
do you think Wayne is going to say when I ask him where he sees the Padres in the crowded NL wildcard race?
If I was Wayne, I'd say, number one, I don't like your tone. Okay? I don't like the way you're asking that question.
Why are you asking me that?
Yeah, why are you asking me that? I don't have time for that right now.
What happened to
By
Wayne?
the way, there's a little bit of like this sneaky series against the Giants that I'm worried about. Like there's so much attention. There's so much attention towards other things that I almost feel like the series against the Giants is getting lost into that.
We should get into that with Wayne Randazzo. He'll be on the Apple TV call Friday night for game 2 of this series, a series that gets underway here tonight. Wayne, we appreciate you taking time for us in San Diego. Let's just start with where the Padres sit, so to speak, in the NL wildcard standings. There's so many teams within a game or two of each other. How do you see the Padres in that wildcard race? And thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. It's a wild card cluster of mediocrity. I mean, these are all teams that are in the mix, but also teams that have plenty of flaws. Whether it's the Padres or the Diamondbacks or the Marlins or whoever. I mean, you kind of take your pick. Pirates, whatever team ends up in this second or third wild card. I mean, you could even throw the Phillies in there right now too. That you're gonna see teams get in that may not have a really strong chance to win the whole thing. So that's why it makes the trade deadline, to me, so interesting, is that will some of these teams that seem like they're in it, and in terms of the standings, they are in it, but are they really contenders to win the whole thing? And do they feel like they should add, or do they feel like they should just sell off some parts because they're not terribly serious about winning the World Series this year? So we'll see how it shakes out here in the next few days. But I think the Padres are just kind of in that cluster right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, looking at San Diego, Wayne, just, from your definition of a team that is just trying to get to the postseason, what do you think that balance is of saying, all right, we try to improve as best as we can? It doesn't sound like the Padres, they won't be able to go crazy at this deadline, but how much do you think the calculation is, well, if you get into the playoffs, anything can happen, and we've seen this happen before in baseball. Is that a good strategy? Well, as long as we just get into the dance, anything can happen from there.
Seems like that's happening. To me, it seems like that's happening less and less. I think that you're seeing teams that are really built for October succeed in October over the last 3 or 4 years. And I think the examples of a team just getting in and riding it out and having some lucky bounces, it just feels like that doesn't happen as much as it was happening in maybe the previous decade. I don't know. I mean, yeah, of course, the Padres have a lot of talent, and that's why you can make the argument that they should believe, because, Machado's been hitting more, Merrill's been hitting more, Tatis is always a guy who can win a baseball game single-handedly. You have Miller at the end of the game, and frankly, the Padres bullpen is a huge strength for them, and in October would be a big deal for them. So you can understand why the Padres would feel differently than some of these other teams in the wild card because of the talent that they do have. But you also have to look at the big picture in terms of these contracts that probably are not going to look very good in the next couple of years, and the fact that for the entirety of this season, some of these guys haven't played that well. So I'm glad I don't have to make these decisions, because these are not easy decisions to make, and it could easily backfire no matter which way you go.
It's a good point. Wayne Randazzo is with us. He'll be on the call tomorrow night. Apple TV, national broadcast, Padres and Giants. Alan was just making this point. Like, there's so much attention on the deadline. The Padres need to remain focused, obviously, on the task at hand this weekend, for example, at home against the Giants, who are 16 games under 500. The Giants should be sellers conceivably over the next couple of days as well. How do you see where these two franchises are today and how this series might shake out?
Yeah, it should be just like the last one for the Padres. They really got to fatten up this week. You know, they did a good job against the Rockies doing that, and now they need to do the same thing against the Giants. San Francisco has a little more major league talent, I guess, right now than Colorado does, but they just lost one of their best hitters. Casey Schmidt needed knee surgery, so he's out, and the Giants already have plenty of holes anyway. Matt Chapman is not out there, so the Padres should be heavily favored to at least win two. And at this time of the season, these are the kinds of teams that you really need to sweep and take all three of them.
Wayne, as we look at just what has played out for the Padres, they've won 5 games in a row. They started out after the All-Star break, they started out 2-5. We're really struggling, and they win these 5 games, but it's not against the best competition at the time. With Miami, they had lost 9 in a row, end up losing 12 in a row after the Padres sweep them, and then we know where the Rockies are. How do you look at, when you look at San Diego and certainly some of their flaws, how do you think they match up against these other potential wildcard teams, the Arizonas of the world, the St. Louis Cardinals, the Nationals, just in that mix? Let's forget the elite in the NL, but in the mix of some of these teams that we're referring to.
Yeah, if you're just looking at it in that regard, I think they match up well. I think that, outside of the Cubs, who I think are a little bit more of a fine-tuned machine and have their offense clicking, and they'll probably get some pitching at the trade deadline. I think the Cubs are in a little bit of a different class in the wild card than the others. But you look at from the Phillies on down, I think the Padres stack is fine. I think they have more talent than most of these teams. I think if their guys have good second halves, the guys that you would rely on, the big name value players for them, that the Padres should win more games than those other teams do. And, that's why I think in their case, if you're just looking at trying to make the playoffs for this season, well, you don't want to give up on that necessarily, because the Padres probably should make the playoffs this season. Whether they will or will not remains to be seen. But I would think that they believe that they should make the postseason. I think if you're looking, though, at the health of this franchise for the next 3 to 5 years, what's getting out from some of these contracts is probably important, unless they don't care and they just fill it up and the contracts are meaningless to them and they don't, and the money is such that they can spend it and it doesn't really bother them. But if it does, and they need to think about how the health of this organization looks from a contractual standpoint, getting out from some of these contracts might be important to them, and they could use either the trade deadline now or the off season to try to do that.
Wayne, how do you see the trade deadline playing out around baseball with the looming lockout? Will that play a role in what we're going to see over the course of the next 4 days or not?
No, I don't think so. I think the trade deadline will be as normal. The teams that need to sell will. I think some of these teams, and the Angels are one of them, that have some really good players with a few years left or 2 or 3 years left of team control, that could net a big package for them at the trade deadline here. I think the teams that have those types of players to trade will end up doing well at the deadline if they do make those moves. And I think the rental players will still go for the same rate. So I don't think the lockout or anything that could potentially be looming from a CBA standpoint will affect anything. And it doesn't even seem like it's affecting, we've seen a lot of contract extensions over the course of this season. A lot of young players have been locked up long-term by various teams. So, for the most part, it seems like the league is operating, business as usual.
When you get a chance to, obviously be by doing your Apple broadcast, you're seeing a lot of different markets, a lot of different teams, fan bases, and everything else. How do you think fans view the way the structure of Major League Baseball is today? I'm sure it benefits some markets. It hurts other markets. There's even some of the smaller markets that are finding ways to be successful. But just overall as a whole, how do you think the way baseball is structured is perceived around the country?
I I think the only unfairness that people seem to point out is what the Dodgers have going on, that they can sign these types of contracts and it doesn't really affect them whether those contracts end up being good for them or not. You know, Kyle Tucker gets an enormous deal, way more money than he should have. He's really not played well this year, and it doesn't affect the Dodgers' win-loss total. It doesn't affect their bottom line. It doesn't hamper them in any way, shape, or form. That Tucker is a bad contract and might be a terrible contract by the time it's over. You know, Edwin Diaz has not given them anything this year, and again, it just doesn't matter that they go on and they do what they do anyway, because they've been structured in a way where they can handle those types of deals blowing up on them. And I think other than the Dodgers, I think teams feel like they have a fair shot for the most part. You know, obviously you'd rather be in a big market and spend money and this and that, but the Brewers don't. Like Cleveland doesn't. You know, Pittsburgh even this year is in the wild card race, and they haven't spent a lot of money, although they did beef up their offense a little bit. You don't need to spend a lot of money to be successful, but I do think you need to spend some. And I think the teams that have at least put in some value into player development or spend some money on even mid-level free agents are seeing that pay off. But I think it's almost like 29 against 1, because the Dodgers kind of have a different set of standards and rules based on their TV money and based on what they can handle from a financial standpoint than anyone else can.
Wait, just a quick follow-up to that. Is that just because there's one Shohei Ohtani? Is that the Ohtani effect and how they were able to take advantage of that? You know, whether you could say differently from Anaheim, but just, how much of what you're saying is the Ohtani effect, and how much of it you think is just a bunch of different factors?
I think it's mostly a bunch of different factors. I think, Shohei to some degree give them some flexibility by having the incredible deferral money that he took on, and that is true. But you also have the TV money for them is so gargantuan compared to the rest of the league, and they don't have to share it like the rest of the league does. They have a financial ownership group that just can swallow up so much more money than other teams. I mean, they just bought the Lakers as well. They are just playing by a different standard overall. And, you know, Shohei's deferral helps, but TV money, just the length of where their ownership can take it financially, it's just different. And I think that's what allows them to be head and shoulders operating at a different level than any of the other 29 teams, the Yankees included.
25 years, $8.35 billion, by the way, in that TV deal, averages to $335 million a year. For perspective, I think Kevin Acey told us yesterday the Padres make $30 million right now in TV, or 11 times less than the Dodgers receive right now.
That sounds like a good structure for everybody.
That really is incredible.
That sounds great.
It really is incredible. Wayne, we appreciate you taking time. Safe travels down here, and we'll watch you on the call. We're looking forward to it tomorrow night on Apple.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
All right, good stuff from Wayne Randazzo. How about that? $335 a year in television for the Dodgers. The Padres, Kevin said this yesterday, last night on YouTube, that the Padres do make $30 million per year right now in television through their MLB.TV deal.
So pennies.
Yeah.
Literally pennies on the dollar.
Just under 1/11 of the TV dollars that the LA Dodgers do receive.
I'll continue to say this. If you put a salary cap in baseball tomorrow, the Dodgers will still be ran well, and they are ran well. But what he said about it doesn't matter. You can have 5 bad contracts that don't work out, and it literally doesn't touch them. Other franchises can't do that. Like the San Diego Padres, we're watching what's happening. The Xander Bogaerts, and let's say Padres aren't a good example because they have really bad contracts out there. But take a different franchise in a different market that just doesn't have that room for error, that margin for error. They can have so many things that it's like Apple making a mistake versus a startup company.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to compete against each other.
I mean, Blake Snell hasn't pitched this year, and they've got the best record in the sport. All right. On the other side, we're going to hear from Jeff Passan on Tarik Skubal's potential landing spots. Isaiah C., Aztecs transfer wing. We're continuing our summer basketball series on Aztecs Hoops. Isaiah C., a newcomer, will join us coming up at 4 p.m. here on Schaefer and Sliwa, San Diego Sports 760. We're live on the iHeartRadio app.
All right, our iHeartRadio Music Festival is back. Live performances by the Goo Goo Dolls, Kenny Chesney, Lainey Wilson, Snoop Dogg, Weezer, and more. September 18th and 19th at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. 2 nights, 1 stage. Now's your chance to buy tickets at AXS.com. Get them now before they sell out.
We get an invite to that, like the iHeart. You know, I work at iHeart, for example. We get the hookup.
Brendan and I are going. We got invited.
They sent out that email like a month ago that you could put in to win a trip and $500 spending cash and a bunch of stuff.
For employees or for listeners?
No, for employees.
Yeah, Brendan.
Did I win?
Brendan and I are in.
Oh, you guys are.
I didn't put it in because then they'd make me go.
All right.
That's a great answer.
That's a good line. Isaiah C. is a newcomer. San Diego State men's basketball added him in the portal from Oregon State. He's a wing. He'll join us coming up at 4 p.m. We're doing our summer basketball series.
Let's go. On
the Aztecs. Do you want to hear from Jeff Passan?
Yes, but there was something from Wayne that I want to also.
Okay. Well, you want to tell me? It's your world.
How often do you hear this? And think about the way Wayne was talking about the Padres.
Mm-hmm.
Wayne basically kept saying he's going to be doing the Apple TV broadcast tomorrow, Padres and the Giants. He almost sounded like a parent that was like, listen, I understand what the San Diego Padres want to do. I understand that you want to go out tonight,
but
you haven't cleaned your room.
Right.
You haven't done your homework. You're failing in your grades. Take care of all that, and then we can talk about this.
Go out.
And I think what he was saying about the Padres was like, is anybody else looking at what pay attention to what you're going to look like in the next 3 to 5 years instead of just continuing to put on your credit card. That's kind of the vibe I got from the conversation.
Yeah, I would agree.
And he also said, I asked him, I'm like, hey, is there a little bit is it common to just say, look, maybe they're not a World Series contender, but can't they just get into the postseason? Whatever happens, happens. He's like, no, I don't think that actually. I think that you have more teams are now building towards if I'm going to make a run in the postseason, it's because I think I got a legitimate chance to make a run in the postseason. Maybe I'm, top 4 in the AL or top 4 in the NL. That's considered this opportunity to make it. So I thought those things stood out to me. How would you respond
the
to that?
Second he said it, I wanted to counter it. I completely disagree with the idea that you've got to be like, for example, a top 2 seed in either the AL or the NL to get to a World Series, right? The tops are separating from the middle of the pack, so to speak.
Maybe a division leader.
Well, but it hasn't played out that way.
Mm-hmm.
In 2023, 3 World Series ago, Arizona won 83 games. In 2022, when Philadelphia beat San Diego, they were the 6th seed that year. They won 87 games as the 6th seed. That was Philly,
right? Yeah.
That was Philadelphia. I mean, Toronto last year in the regular season, okay, they did win 94 games.
Yeah, they were legit.
But I mean, Tampa Bay was in the World Series this decade, albeit COVID year. I think Philadelphia and Arizona, 2 teams that didn't win more than 87 games but played in the World Series in the last 4 years.
That's not a decade ago. That's in the last 5 years.
4 years ago and 3 years ago, 87 wins and 83 wins. There's not enough evidence for me to suggest that you got to be a 95-win team to play for a World Series. Is how I see it. Doesn't mean I'm right, but that's how I see it. I still think we'll see variance in the baseball postseason.
I think there's definitely let's put it this way. If I took the top 16, I don't know, let's say the top 12 teams in baseball right now.
Yeah.
6 in the AL, 6 in the NL. Are many people talking about the 5th or the 6th best team there and saying, hey, that team can make a run? I still think Philadelphia would be dangerous, right? Especially what happens at the deadline. But for the most part, that's probably not the case. And I think that's what he's referring to.
Well, what about 2023 World Series champion over Philadelphia or Arizona in the Texas Rangers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, over Arizona. 90 wins.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't win their division. 90 wins. Padres have done that the last 2 years. They won the World Series with 90 wins. Were they the expected World Series winner? Of course not.
Well, and here's the reality. The reality is I don't think, and this is like the same conversation that we have with listeners that say, hey, I think the Padres should be sellers.
Right.
I'm not going to argue against those points because I think those points are very, they make sense. They're not crazy.
I agree.
I think if you ask most people today, do you think the San Diego Padres have a legitimate chance of winning a World Series? You're not going to get many people to say that.
Agreed.
Now, if you ask, do they have a legitimate chance of making the postseason? I'd say, yeah, I think they have a legitimate chance of making the playoffs. So is it for the Padres? Well, we can't worry about one until we worry about this. We can't worry about the other until we worry about the one. And worrying about just making the playoffs is all the Padres have their eyes on. And if they're able to do so, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and that's how I would look at it if I was AJ Preller. And I agree with you. I think you should. I'm more dipping my toe in at the deadline than diving in, obviously. I do think it would be negligent to trade away 3 of your top 4 prospects in pursuit of a World Series in 2026. But I also think it would be somewhat irresponsible to sell off meaningful parts in a quest to get to the postseason in 2026. I mean, isn't that kind of one of your goals to get in? That's one of your goals. It's not the only goal. I would agree with that. But to sell off when you're in this position, to me, would be short-sighted. Just like maybe selling off Ethan Salas in a trade would be short-sighted for the future. I think there's a balancing act. There's a middle ground that they can navigate in, and that's what I think they will do. That's what I think we'll be talking about on Monday. Maybe it was creative or unconventional or unique, but I think they balance some middle ground in pursuit of improving their team. We'll see if that happens or not. I mean, surprises could happen.
They wouldn't have a choice either way. Like this is going to be, again, they're a franchise that's trying to make the playoffs today. They're not a franchise that's rebuilding. It's not a franchise that has the luxury of saying, kick the can down the road for a year because some of the contracts they have.
21 Atlanta Braves, 88 wins. Won the World Series. 23 Texas Rangers, 90 wins. 23 Diamondbacks, 83 wins. 22 Phillies, 87 wins. I mean, I almost want to curse and be like, shoot. But the other word, like, it's doable. I'm not saying the Padres will do it. We've followed this franchise for forever. They don't do it a lot.
I know.
Unfortunately, but somebody could do it. If it's not the Padres, it could be Arizona.
Sure.
Or someone in the American League. So we'll see. All right. On the other side, Isaiah C., Aztec newcomer, transfers in from Oregon State. He's out of France. The Aztecs will have an international flavor on the basketball court this year. Isaiah C., the newest Aztec for Brian Dutcher. He'll join us live next on Schaefer and Sliwa, San Diego Sports 760. We're live on the iHeartRadio app.
Here's what's trending from the iHeart Sports Network, presented by iHeartAdvertising.com. The Padres and Giants are getting set for game 1 of their series down at Petco Park. It's going to be JP Sears going for the Padres, and who knows, going for the Giants. ESPN has Robbie Ray, MLB Network has TBD, so we'll see who shows up at 6:40. In NFL news, the Saints and wide receiver Chris Olave have signed a 4-year extension worth up to $132 million, including $90 million guaranteed. Running business and not thinking about radio? Think again, because people are listening to radio more today than they did 20 years ago. And only iHeartRadio connects with more Americans than TV, digital, and even social. Learn how radio can help your business. Call 844-844-iHeart.
All right, let's talk some Aztec hoops. We continue our summer basketball series on the home of the Aztecs, San Diego Sports 760. Isaiah C. is with us right now, Oregon State transfer, France native, out of Marseille. Been in the States for a number of years right now, joining Brian Dutcher in San Diego State here for the upcoming year. So Isaiah, first of all, welcome to San Diego. I know you and I have had the chance to meet, but we appreciate you joining us here this afternoon on the radio. Thanks for doing it.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, so walk us through your offseason, because you spent last year at Oregon State, and you were still in the portal relatively late, and then you kind of locked up with San Diego State. So how did that all play out over the course of the last few months?
So basically, I entered the transfer portal, I'll say start of April, and stay late during the process because I was trying to find the right spot, find the right place to be. And I believe that even if it would have taken time, like I was about to find the right place. And late in the portal, I had a call from Coach Dutcher, who called me and basically told me about the Nick Anderson injury that happened and needed a replacement. And so we talked about like the opportunity and how we see the team and how we see me improve and develop to prepare my professional career. And it just clicked right away. Like we just both knew it was the right time, the right spot. So I'm really, really happy to be here.
Isaiah, what are you most looking forward to? And, obviously welcome to San Diego State. What are you most looking forward to? And why did some of those conversations with Dutch kind of sway you to believing that, hey, this is the right place for your senior year?
I feel like there's multiple things. Their arena, most definitely the arena, the fans. They told me about it's a sellout crowd and everybody is really, really cheering around the program. So I love that. The chance to make a run to March Madness. This is a program that has been to the Final Four in the recent years. So definitely something that I want to touch. And I want to go to March Madness. Yes, this is the goal, but we also want to go and make runs there, win games, and accomplish things that haven't been done before. So that's definitely the goal. And I'm really, really excited. Also living in San Diego is probably one of the best cities in America, to be honest.
Yeah, you cannot go wrong. we could attest to that. You cannot go wrong in America's finest city. Isaiah C. is with us right now. He's the Aztec newcomer transferred in from Oregon State and a wing. Describe your game for our listeners. A year ago, the last couple of years in college, you've really shot the three ball well. You averaged over 10 points per game last year with the Beavers. How do you describe your game overall?
I'll say it's a little bit of everything, mostly shooting. I think I shot above 65% of my shots from three this year or in the last 2 years. So mostly threes, catch and shoot, off the dribble, a lot of defense with the length, sometimes 6'6", 6'7", and playing aggressively, going to the offensive glass, playing defensive glass, and a lot of leadership. I feel like playing multiple years at the Division I level and playing against those Pac-12 teams, definitely bringing that leadership into the program and the experience that I've had before.
Isaiah, with that in mind, how has it gone getting a chance to, obviously meet your teammates, and what do you think of this upcoming season? How do you think the San Diego State will be able to compete? Obviously coming into the Pac-12, Gonzaga is going to be there. Just your thoughts on how you guys can do collectively.
I mean, really, really excited, to be honest. I feel like we have a pretty deep team. We got a little bit of everything and great transfer, great returners. I feel like we all right away we're getting along with each other. So I'm really excited to see how that translates into the first couple of games. Definitely the goal, obviously is to win the Pac-12. And I think that we have the pieces to do that. So I'm really, really excited about this year.
Isaiah C. is with us right now, Aztec newcomer, transfer wing, transfers in from Oregon State. How do you describe the differences between the European game? You grew up in France. Correct me if I'm wrong. Your dad was a former professional player over there as well. And this roster, by the way, that you're going to be playing with, although not everyone is yet on the floor together at the same time, is going to have a very international feel to it. How does the international game and the way you grew up playing it differ from the way it's played right now in the States?
The European game is more IQ based, I would say. It's more like plays and a lot of set plays, less of transition runs and making read off the dribble and stuff like that. But in the US, everybody is like really, really athletic. So that was the biggest difference that like witnessed when I came into the States is everybody is athletic. Everybody is able to create their own shots, dribble, pass the defender, and it's really, really fast paced. So like the college game is really fast paced compared to how I was playing in Europe. So those are the biggest difference that I feel like I witnessed.
How tough of an adjustment is that, Isaiah? Just styles are so different, right? And like you mentioned, here's one style in Europe, and you come to the United States, and stylistically, how was that adjustment for you, and how do you feel now, you know, obviously being here in the States, how do you feel you've adjusted just in general?
I feel like at the start I was struggling a little bit because, like I said, like it was really fast-paced. I had to learn the language the first 3 months. I was speaking a little bit of English, but not that good, so definitely a hard adjustment the first 3 months, but the people that were around me really helped me through that. And after playing in prep school and junior college and all those levels, I feel like it really helped me to be ready for the Division I level and really being ready for that transition to a really, really good level.
Do you find it unique that you've transferred to a league that now has Oregon State because you spent the last couple of years with the Beavers, but the coaching staff's all new, and most of the team, if not maybe for one or two players for Oregon State, have all gone since you were there a year ago. Is it going to be unique playing Oregon State a couple of times this upcoming year, or how do you see that?
Definitely exciting. I'm really, really excited about that game. It's definitely rounded in my calendar when the schedule come out. But I feel like it's a great opportunity to just see the staff that I've been around, like the trainers, like the managers, and all those people that I worked with during my 2 years at Oregon State. So definitely an exciting opportunity. But now I'm an Aztec, and I'm ready to give everything to win. And I feel like we're ready for that.
Isaiah, how much do you watch the NBA? Were you locked into Wemby during the season, watching the finals against the Knicks? How much were you watching the NBA?
I was definitely watching, supporting Wemby. We had to support France from back home. Actually, I was in France during the final, but really, really interesting to see how far he came and the run that he had. Even if he didn't go his way, it was really, really interesting watching that.
Two-part question. Have you ever seen anyone like him in your entire life? I mean, you see the skill set of Victor Wembanyama. You're like, this is like,
I don't think it's possible.
Yeah, it's just, it is incredible to witness. And I guess my question would be, how has the game of basketball grown in terms of its interest and popularity over the years? Specifically, I guess, in the last handful of years with Wemby's impact.
Tony Parker and some of these other guys. Yeah.
What is the NBA's interest level like in Europe and specifically in France?
I mean, I feel like we saw it at the last Olympics. We saw that France was like growing, and having France compete with the US at that level and actually having like an entertaining game with the USA, which is like probably the best team in the world, is really, really exciting. And lately we had two first pick of the draft with Tarik Skubal and Wemby. So it's really, really exciting to see how France has been growing the basketball game, and it's not just a soccer country anymore.
All right, Isaiah C. Again.
That's right. Now we can break down the World Cup with them too.
Yeah, you're not kidding. I'm trying to remember. I was going to say, yeah, it didn't end the way.
You just assumed that's it. Mbappe and France was going to win the World Cup.
I think the whole world assumed it.
I know.
And I think playing Spain was just tragic. I felt like they just played better than us and took us out of our way. So it was just a bad game to see.
Have you had a chance to explore San Diego? Obviously, it's a world away from Marseille, where you grew up in France.
I don't think they're selling California burritos
in Marseille.
In Marseille. I don't think that's
what's it been like so far? And I know it's only been a brief period of time, but what's it been like to experience San Diego?
Definitely great. Like I said, it's probably my favorite city in America right now. It's funny because Marseille and San Diego are actually paired. Like the two cities are both together. So I've heard of San Diego before, and now since I've been here, I went to all the spots around, like Pacific Beach, tried the spots here, the food spots, actually really, really good food. And like you said, I tried a California burrito recently, and it's pretty good. So I'm really glad I tried it.
Love it.
People are giving you some good advice, brother.
Real quick before you go, what is the thing in Marseille or at home that you're not getting here? Like what makes home so unique that you're never going to find, whether it's in the U.S. or in San Diego, that reminds you of home, but you can't get it here?
Definitely, I would say the pastries. I haven't looked yet, but I would definitely like to find like a baguette or croissant, or even any pastry really that comes from France, or the cheese. I feel like we're really big on cheese, and I haven't found that yet in the U.S. So I like to find that. And finally, like the crepes. To be honest, like I try to make crepes at home, but I feel like it won't hit the same as back in France.
Isaiah, on campus, find yourself a spot and just open up Isaiah's Bakery. Figure it out, man. I mean, you'd kill it. That's it. You'd retire before you're even done with your college career.
Forget about the basketball. That's a good point. Isaiah, again, welcome to San Diego.
And the basketball. Not forget about the basketball.
Welcome to San Diego. Aztec fans are excited to have you. We're looking forward to seeing you this fall at the Ahaus Arena, but thanks for doing it today.
Thank you, man.
I appreciate you having me.
Great stuff from Isaiah C., a product of Marseille.
Cool, dude. It's awesome.
France. Game's become so international.
I was just going to say, I love the international flair. Like, you watch the NBA today, it's impossible to have a roster that doesn't have a couple of these Europeans or a couple, just obviously just kind of a beautiful mix of the world. And that's what the NBA has become. So to now kind of see this also trickle down to the college ranks, I think it's going to be fun. I think you're going to, a few of the players that SDSU has got, you got guys that were playing with grown-ass men in these Italian leagues or whatever the case is. But I think they're going to offer a different style of basketball that, like Isaiah was mentioning, it took him a second to adjust. But once he was able to adjust, it's like a perfect pedigree, a perfect mix of the two types of games.
It's crazy. This roster, to your point, you've got players from France. You have Italians. You have Croatians. Latrell Davis is out of Leeds, England.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, you are, I say, an international like feel or flavor. Half the roster or more is going to be international.
Smart of them too. I know San Diego State's not the only school looking internationally.
Of course not. Yeah.
I think for Dutch and his crew, not surprised at all that they're trying to find some talent outside of just the States.
Hopefully we won't say you're going to hear from Jeff Passan the entire show on the other side, but we're going to hear from Jeff Passan.
That was my fault.
That is completely your fault. Yeah. But we're going to hear from Jeff Passan on the other side. The latest on the Tarik Skubal sweepstakes, plus the wrap coming up at 4:30. Here until 6 p.m., we're going to give away some tickets to see Santana this hour as well. Stay with us, Schaefer and Sliwa, San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app.
All right, SDFC is back on the road on Saturday when they take on the Minnesota United. Our pre-match coverage with Adrian and Darren will begin at 5 p.m. on your home for SDFC, San Diego Sports 760. Every single SDFC game that you want to hear right here on 760.
Every single MLS match right here on 760. All right, do you want to hear from Jeff Passan, or should we just wait until tomorrow?
What's Monday, Brent? What's Monday's schedule looking
Trade
like?
deadline.
Just at around 3:30, 4 o'clock.
You want to hear from Jeff Passan on Monday?
I say we schedule it. Get a reminder.
Let's hear from Jeff Passan. All right, because Tarik Skubal is unlikely to land in San Diego. I think we all recognize that.
Yeah.
And there are some serious suitors trying to win World Series, and that may include the Padres, but they're unlikely, right, to land Tarik Skubal. Where could he land, and is he likely to move? Will he be moved?
Yeah, Tarik Skubal is going to be traded. The Tigers haven't gone to teams that are interested in him and said as much at this point, but the expectation is that's going to happen within the next day or two. And frankly, everyone has been expecting it. When you see how the Tigers have played recently, and certainly their game Wednesday was a perfect encapsulation of their season. They understood that they needed to go on a really big run in order to have Tarik Skubal stick around, and they didn't do it. They're taking a healthy view of this. They understand that they have a lot of engaged teams right now. Teams that in particular are being cited by others as being the biggest threats, though, the Milwaukee Brewers, who have a tremendous farm system, and of course, Phil, the Los Angeles Dodgers, who are the favorites at this point, and frankly have been since the possibility of Tarik Skubal getting traded first surfaced a couple of months ago.
He kind of buried the lead. He's like, oh, yeah, Skubal's going to move. And the Brewers are interested. Oh, by the way, the favorites are the Dodgers, and they have been for months. You know, like he just like slid that in there like, oh, yeah, they're the favorites, and they have been.
It's kind of weird. If I'm a one of these other teams right now, if I'm the Milwaukee, you and I have talked a little bit about this. Milwaukee, if you're Tampa, even if you're a squad like the Atlanta Braves, like there's some franchises out there right now that, I mean, if you got a shot at Skubal, I mean, just imagine if you landed him, what that means to your World Series chances. Last couple of days, we saw that there could be some health concerns for Shohei, and what does it mean to his potential pitching for the Dodgers, and that maybe they'll be a little bit more aggressive on the Skubal sweepstakes. I think no matter what, they'll drive up the price. So whether they get him or not, you know, it's funny. I saw that this passing clip that you played, I saw a tweet on it, and I went to the comments just to kind of read what are the comments? What are people saying about this? It's a couple Dodger fans, actually pretty funny, just how they were responding to it. But 95% of those tweets was like, this is why we're going to have a work stoppage in baseball. And tell me Wayne's last name.
Randazzo.
Wayne Randazzo, who's part of the broadcast coming up on Apple tomorrow, Padres and the Giants. He basically said that you got every team that if there is a lockout, who's everybody complaining about? They're just complaining about the Dodgers. I don't really know what you want me to tell you, but if this is the system that we want to have, I think, you know, and again, I'll continue to say it. I'm going to give Dodgers credit for running a good organization. And if there's one thing that they've done, they also have a really, really, really good farm system. So they're dotting their I's and they're crossing their T's. But is this the system that we want? Like they don't have to Snell and Glasnow. Like they could be very strategic with how they're using these guys that are getting paid $150 plus. Kyle Tucker is not good. Doesn't matter. Like, is this what we want?
Yeah, I mean, I see it as two different. I see them as different, like parts of the equation.
How? If you have a salary cap,
I think it takes two to tango for Skubal to end up with LA. They have to have the pieces to move him, and the Tigers have to move him. And this is less about salary. He's a free agent. So this is less about salary and more about what is the return. Is the Tigers are going to get the best return. The Tigers could care less.
Yeah,
about
they're in the American
Dodgers
League. They don't care
of winning the World Series. But if the Dodgers have the best return, then they're going to trade him to the LA Dodgers. The money component where you can go out in free agency and spend, is no doubt advantage LA. No doubt. What they're able to do via trade other teams have similar opportunities.
I disagree.
They don't have similar?
I disagree because I think the way that the Dodgers don't have to go give up their entire farm system to go get real players. They're just signing them. And then when players become available, like Skubal, they can just give up the farm system.
Padres have tried that. They have played that card. Buying free agents, selling their farm.
Mm-hmm.
They've played that card. Maybe not to the exact extent, very similarly.
But I think you would be calling the Padres a well-run organization. I wouldn't put them in that. I wouldn't put them in that category of like this, hey, they're ran really well. I wouldn't say the Padres are ran really well. I think the Padres just got ultra aggressive of wanting to win a World Series and compete. And this is kind of the result that you got out of it. It doesn't mean they're running a perfect business.
No, of course not. But we can't take away from the fact, to your point, the Dodgers are run very well.
That's why I try to emphasize it.
You're never going to get around that potentially.
I don't need to get around that. They can still be ran very, very well. I just want some parameters.
I agree. Most people agree with you. I agree with parameters. The Skubal trade, I don't see the exact same way. He's not making a crazy amount of money. I don't know what he's making. It's not insane for 1/3 of the season. I mean, any team could pay him $7 million for 1/3 of the season. Most of the teams could pay him the $7 million. Is what's the return? And yes, there's a very good likelihood that he ends up with the Dodgers. And yes, everyone will be saying what you're saying. But if the best deal for Detroit is Milwaukee, he will be traded to Milwaukee. If the best deal for Detroit is that is the deal they will make, I believe. Like, I don't think it's a guarantee he ends up with the Dodgers just because of some of these resources that they have. Because I think other teams have good systems.
No, listen, again, I'll continue to say this. I'll compliment the Dodgers for having one of the best farm systems in all of baseball.
Sure.
That's how they're going to get Skubal. That's how they're going to get a player like Skubal, who's not a free agent, that they can eventually go sign and pay whatever they want for him. We've seen that happen before.
Sure.
So if I need to emphasize it again, they're ran well, they have a good farm system. But think about what it takes for some franchises to go get a player of that caliber, and you might completely deplete your farm system in the process. And what does that do? And if you don't have the financial advantage to go sign players to complement a player like that, I think there are some connections. Not full connections, but I think there are some connections.
I mean, listen, the Dodgers have clear advantages. Everyone recognizes it. They absolutely have clear advantages. And one of them might be what they're about to do at the deadline. Skubal may not be the only move that they're making this deadline in an effort to potentially win 3 straight World Series. All right, we'll get to the wrap on the other side. Here until 6 p.m. We're giving away this hour a 4-pack of tickets to see Santana and the Doobie Brothers, August 11th at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. So be listening for your chance to win those Santana tickets. But the wrap is on the other side. Schaefer and Sliwa, San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app.
Here's what's trending from the iHeart Sports Network, presented by iHeartAdvertising.com. Padres and Giants are getting set for game 1 of their series tonight down at Petco Park. It's going to be TBT going for the Giants and JP Sears going for the Padres. First pitch tonight is at 6:40. In NFL news, the Saints and wide receiver Chris Olave have agreed to a 4-year extension worth up to $132 million, including a $90 million of it guaranteed. Run a business and not thinking about radio? Think again, because people are listening to radio more today than they did 20 years ago, and only iHeartRadio connects with more Americans than TV, digital, and even social. Learn how radio can help your business. Call 844-844-iHeart.
Schaefer and Sliwa, by the way, we've got you covered Monday at the trade deadline. Our show starts when the deadline hits, 3 p.m. Pacific, Monday afternoon.
How did you set that up?
I talked to
Who'd you talk to?
iHeart and Major League Baseball. It's a collab between Schaefer and Sliwa,
So
Major
like a
League Baseball.
collab.
You got Manfred on speed
And
dial.
iHeart.
You got.
Yeah.
Let's do Passan again Monday at 3:30.
You want him on the show?
Oh no, I just want to play that same clip, the one that we just played.
Do you want to know the moves the Padres are going to make between now and the deadline? Because I could tell you those. I was going to save them until Monday.
Not interested.
You're not interested. Okay.
But thank you for asking.
Yeah. Okay.
You and I, when we're not on,
It's a much better
This
show when we're not
microphone?
on. It's much better.
what are we talking about?
Similar stuff.
Yeah,
Very similar
all
stuff.
over the place.
Is Kirk Morrison joining the show at 5 p.m. or not?
We're calling him at 5, so we'll find out at
We'll call
5
Kirk
whether
Morrison.
he's
The Aztec for life.
2 days ago he was.
The
I'm just
broadcaster.
waiting here now.
Yeah. So hopefully Kirk Morrison will join us coming up. By the way, he tweeted about the passing of Billy Ray Smith Jr., the former decade-long Chargers linebacker, longtime sports media personality as well in San Diego.
Yep.
So we can touch on that tragic passing, the untimely passing there of Billy Ray Smith.
BR had such a unique history. It's funny, from his playing days, I have no memory of any of that, but I knew Billy Ray Smith as obviously as a radio co-host with Scott Kaplan, Scott and BR show. So that's my history. And I'm sure there's a lot of San Diegans that have both of those chapters, but that chapter on radio, who's a big part of, the fabric of San Diego for a number of years.
No doubt about it. So again, Kirk Morrison hopefully will join the show coming up at 5 p.m. this afternoon. We'll give away those Santana tickets later this hour, but right now let's get to this.
It's time for the wrap. Presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
Do you have any interest in a LeBron Last Dance-esque documentary?
All right, so this came out. I guess, what are they working on? Them and ESPN or something like that are trying to do some type of collab, and then they're going to follow LeBron in Philadelphia, is how I understand it. My initial thoughts, to be honest, no, I'm not interested. It just doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't do anything for me. Now, that doesn't mean if they start doing it and you see some snippets of it and it can't gain some traction, but just out the gate. It's like Jordan did his thing. The Last Dance came during COVID, and there was nothing else to do, and we were breaking that down like it was Game 7 World Series or Game 7 of the NBA Finals. My initial thoughts, not that interested. Where are you on that?
I would agree, and here's why. I think Jordan's career wasn't as documented in real time to LeBron's. We live in this world where everything is available to everyone. His career's been documented. Michael Jordan's was not in the 1990s to the same extent that LeBron James has been this century, since basically the turn of the century. Me personally, I don't find LeBron the same type of personality that I need more of. That's just how I feel.
I felt like Jordan was so private that anything you saw was so unique.
That's well said.
Yeah, I'm with John. We didn't have the access to Jordan that we have to LeBron. Jordan didn't have a barbershop show on HBO 100%. To go and talk. Jordan didn't have he didn't have social media to go and tell everybody every other day what he's eating and all this other stuff. So I don't really have any interest.
And Jordan was private, and LeBron is. I feel like I got a good idea of what LeBron's life is.
Yeah. Next question.
What's your guys' confidence in the Padres in the series versus the Giants?
It's funny. I'm reading some YouTube comments as we're sitting here, and there are a couple of the comments. I was getting ready to respond to one of them that's basically saying, Anybody else kind of concerned about this series against the Giants? I feel like there's so much attention about the trade deadline.
Yeah.
About players that can come, players that can go, AJ Preller, all this stuff, that I feel like this 4-game set against the Giants is kind of getting lost.
Yeah.
And if you are the San Francisco Giants, you got nothing to lose here. There's no pressure on your team. Your team is probably selling off, any good pieces that you have anyways. Is there a little bit of just kind of really, really loose baseball while the Padres are still – I feel like there's a little focus loss on the actual game. That's how I feel about today's matchup.
I think it's a great point. Not just today, this weekend. I mean, this is a series where you can't take a step backwards in. Even 2-2 this series, I think there's a lot of fans who would be critical, and some would say they haven't done enough to earn really AJ Preller buying at the deadline. And here's the other thing. If Robbie Ray is starting tonight, and we see one saying TBA and the other saying Robbie Ray, if Robbie Ray is starting tonight, he's really good. Yeah. He's got a 3.1 ERA. Yeah. So you're expecting a low-scoring game if Robbie Ray is starting. But I completely agree with that point overall. Next question.
Would you take the Dodgers or the field to win this year's World Series?
I think I'd always take the field. Just because, it's such a massive number.
Yeah.
Because I think their number will be, I don't know what it is, 20, 25% to win the World Series.
I'll look it up.
Whatever it is, that's a absurd number when you have X amount of teams that are in the postseason. Even if I thought otherwise, I would still take the field. And I will do the sign of the cross every evening and wonder what happened to my Blue Jays in Game 7, the choke job from the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
I'll take the field.
So the Dodgers right now at this exact moment at Fangraphs have a 26.2.
That's
better than 1-4, which is incredible in baseball.
Brother, that's a massive.
So
massive
the next
number.
best percent chance to win the World Series
Yankees
would be a team that is not in first place in their division, the New York Yankees.
Yeah.
Who have an 11.
I was going to say, it's not even, it can't be more
that
than 15.
That is not close. If you're wondering, what is the Padres' chance of winning a World Series right
Winning
now?
a World Series under 1%?
0.6. It's up from 0.2 earlier in July.
I'll take 0.6.
Their chance of making the postseason is up from 7%, Alan, to what? From 7 about 5 days ago to.
So we got it up to 15. Did it go up further? 17%.
22.3.
22%.
So improved chances. Improved chances from the Padres.
3 times higher than it was just a
5
week
days
ago.
Yeah.
Or 5 days ago.
I'm taking the field. And I'm taking one of the teams in the field right here in San Diego. Next question.
That makes
team
sense.
They're playing that they
one of the
in
teams
San
in the
Diego?
field that I'm taking to win the World Series.
Okay. All right.
At some point in my lifetime, or in my son's lifetime, or his son's lifetime, or his son's lifetime.
Will Adrian Morejon be traded at the deadline?
I kind of hate this, but I think there is some real truth to this. To hear his name being, thrown around so much. If I said, hey, what's the one strength that the San Diego Padres have? You'd say it's their bullpen. All right, what's one player that's going to be gone by the time next season starts? You'd say Adrian Morejon. We just spent a week talking about Mason Miller, just kind of leaning more and more on him not going, how bullpen players are such a supreme right now because there aren't that many bullpen players. And I think Adrian Morejon is probably underrated in this whole conversation about bullpen guys that can go. I think he gets traded.
I think he could, and I don't know how to feel about it, to be honest with you, Alan, based on everything that we've said here today.
You have to wait what happens, what it looks like.
I got to see the end result, but to your point, if I've got 6 or 8 core pieces, he is squarely in it. He's one of my 6 core pieces. My core pieces being Miller, the 3 bats, King, and Morejon, right? If you had to rank the top 6 Padres of importance, it doesn't have to be in order right now, but Mason Miller is obviously on your list. Michael King's got to be in there.
Absolutely.
I think Machado, Merrill, Tatis are probably 3 of the top 6, and then I'm putting Adrian Morejon in there.
Morejon's on that list.
So now I'm trading away one of my top 6 core pieces.
You're right about that.
In an effort to improve my team right now.
That's a great way to put it, and it puts it in a perspective of just how important of a piece he is. And again, if your strength is your bullpen, that ain't the same bullpen. You take him out of that mix there. It's a good size difference. I don't know how else they improve.
Are there
So-
other pieces in the bullpen they could just move?
So I hope AJ Preller is thinking other guys. I know Jeremiah Estrada just came back. I know you're not moving to Jason Adam if he's
Right.
not, and I love Jason Adam as well. Estrada as well. I mean, they got obviously a lot of good bullpen pieces, but Morihone that's a big piece that you're losing if he's one that's traded at the deadline.
This is
They
always
might not have a choice.
This is always the time of year where people like put together hypothetical trades.
Yeah.
And they try to get rid of their like blah players for the other team's really good players. So like to your
I
point,
remember
you
seeing all
need-
that with all these Yankees reports about trying
Exactly.
to get Tatis or trying to get Mason Miller.
But the point is you might need Morihone. Like there's gonna be people on social media, just trade Wandy Peralta and JP Sears. That's not Adrian Morihone.
Yeah.
The clubs are calling for the top of your roster or the top of your system. Now they might meet somewhere in the middle, but the clubs aren't calling and starting the conversation with Wandy Peralta. They're starting the conversation with Adrian Morihone. So what are you really willing to give up?
I know you have Estrada, Morihone, Jason Adam, and Mason Miller. What's the news on Peralta?
Right? That's how I always feel like fans are. And I get it.
No, fans are definitely like that. Absolutely.
You see it with the Lakers content too. Like, well, why don't we just spin name the
right
deep
now,
reserve?
Right now, it's like, just get Bando for Kaminga.
Right. You're like, well, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
All right. On the other side, we touched on the idea that Tarik Skubal could move to a large market club like the Dodgers, but is this the perfect opportunity for a small market club to come to some type of trade for Tarik Skubal with the Tigers? We'll discuss on the other side. You'll hear from Eric Hosmer, in fact. Kirk Morrison, the Aztec for Life, scheduled hopefully to join us coming up at 5 p.m. We'll give away those tickets to see Santana coming up next on Schaefer and Sliwa, San Diego Sports 760, and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, we are giving away Santana tickets. You're looking at me like, we're giving away Santana tickets. I need to promote that, Alan. We'll give away Santana tickets in the next 10 minutes. So if you want Santana tickets, we're giving them away. All right, Eric Hosmer. How would you describe San Diego's relationship with Eric Hosmer, or Padres fans' relationship with Eric Hosmer?
I think everyone was angry at him for, a moment there, right? Everybody wanted.
When he left the day of the Soto deal, or just the 8-year, $144 million deal?
Well, I think the totality of everything, but then you couldn't. You're trying to get Juan Soto, and Hosmer is going to be in the way. Is a bad taste for a lot of people.
Yeah, I would agree. Mm-hmm. I would agree. Well, he has weighed in
that contract than the Xander one.
Yes, because they're only half the size, right? 144. The Xander contract's 280. Neither are good, obviously. But anyway, Eric Hosmer now, what is he? A broadcaster, podcaster?
Yeah, podcaster, I would say. Doing a lot of podcasts.
So he had an interesting take on where Tarik Skubal could land, and it doesn't have to do with large markets like the Dodgers. He had this to say.
Detroit really has to take advantage of this situation and get a big return, but they still want big league players ready as well. So it's going to be so interesting, this deadline, because, again, a small market team like Milwaukee and Tampa, realistically that you're never going to be able to sign a Tarik Skubal on the free agency market for $400 or $500 million. So you're going to say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and get Tarik Skubal at the trade deadline for half a season. It'll probably cost me $10 million if you prorate whatever he's making this year. And then if you go ahead and make the playoffs, you get that playoff revenue in return. So this is the small markets team chance to really strike. And I think Tampa and Milwaukee come into play, but if they want big league ready pitching, the Dodgers have that best package possible because they have the young talent and they have this Justin Robleski kid, this young lefty who's a stud, and he's doing it in the big leagues this year. Detroit.
So he gave the qualifier too. I hadn't heard that. He left the out. Oh, but if they really want the best package, just trade him to the Dodgers. I thought he was Mr. Small Market, Mr. I want a World Series with Kansas City. Sign with the Padres. But if you want the best package, just go to the Dodgers.
Is that how it's considered? They just they'll have the best package? Thinking of like how great teams grow organically like Tampa and Milwaukee, there is not a package that competes with.
It's a good question. I don't know. We should have someone on tomorrow that covers minor league baseball. I'm with you. To a larger perspective.
Because isn't that the blueprint and how some of these franchises can stick their chest out and say, hey, we're able to compete and we don't have anything near a payroll or anything like that from some of these other big markets.
Real quick, are you not watching Oklahoma City Comets Dodgers AAA baseball every night? I'm sure you're watching Comets baseball on MILB.TV. So tell us what's happening in AAA right now in the PCL.
So much going on.
There is a lot.
A lot of pitching, baseball, a lot of hitting, a lot of baseball.
That too.
Yeah.
Brian, what do you got?
I've been saying all week, I think he's going to go to the Brewers. Okay. The Brewers have just as many players in the top 100 MLB prospects as the Dodgers. And they have the one thing that the Dodgers don't. The overall number one prospect in all of baseball,
is that right?
Jose Meade, shortstop, plays for the Brewers. So if they include the number one overall prospect in all of baseball.
Do you want to do that? I mean,
if you're Milwaukee or something.
If you're Milwaukee, yes. Because they're extremely deep at shortstop. Like almost 4 or 5 deep in their minor league system at shortstop. So they can do it.
And can you win a World Series?
Well, I guess this is let's flip it here. Let's pretend for a quick second. The San Diego Padres are the Milwaukee Brewers. Okay. You have the number one prospect in all of baseball. And you got a chance. You got one of the best records in all of baseball and potentially a legitimate chance of getting to a World Series. You got this one thing that everybody kind of knows you for. You can make the playoffs, but you can't win a World Series. Is this we're taking the chance right now at this rental? Remember, it's a rental.
Right.
So how do you apply when to say, because to me, that sounds like the all-in moment.
It is here's what I would say, by the way. If the Padres were the Brewers and their GM was Preller, I don't think he would do it. And let me tell you why. Because Skubal's a rental. And Preller, when he's made these moves, look at Mason Miller, look at Juan Soto. They've all had control. He took huge swings for pieces that were controllable. But you know where the Brewers and Padres are similar? Neither has won a World Series. So at some point, what will it take
But
to do that.
But the Padres were never in this spot like Milwaukee, right? They were never in
terms of
this
overall
spot.
record.
Overall record, going into the trade deadline where you feel like, hey, there's 2-3 teams coming out of the NL. It's like the Padres have used the trade deadline to really increase their chances
they were never
of
winning
making
their division,
noise.
if that's the point. You know what I mean?
I mean
Like,
that's it.
in 2022, they finished 22 games behind the
actually,
Dodgers.
that's even a better example. Like the better example is imagine that you're in the NL West. The Dodgers are actually looking up at you.
Yeah, you're 11 games up on them somehow.
Or maybe it's not a good example because I think what Milwaukee also has to use in their calculation here is the Dodgers are there.
Right.
That you're going to have to eventually go through them. I think it's fascinating because it's like one of those moments where you say, is this the moment where you literally trade your farm? Is it for this moment? If you fail, you fall flat on your face.
Right.
But damn it, if you got to a World Series, isn't this the whole reason why you do this? It's for moments like this?
I think it's going to be similar to that year when they traded for CC Sabathia. I think they're close enough that I think that this is their shot this year, and they don't mind a rental because, you know, kind of like what Hosmer is saying, they're probably not going to be able to re-sign him anyway. So they'll be cool with the rental and just getting him for the $7 or $10 million that he gets for the rest of the year.
Dude, I will say this though, to Brent's point about if they've got the number one prospect in the sport, I can't trade the number one prospect in the sport for 2 months. Even if it improves my chance to win a World Series. Because
what are the Brewers? You know, you were looking at the odds
to win a World Series.
What are the Brewers' chances? Probably in that
Fangraphs, probably in the 10%
range.
Yeah. So that's my point. So you add them and you go from 10 to 15%, but you just gave up 6 years of control of the best player in the sport.
We freaking have no problem doing that.
But usually for controllable pieces.
Yeah, Soto was controllable, but then we got rid of him.
True.
After a year.
By the way, the Brewers' chances to win the World Series are
9%.
Exactly 10.0%.
Yeah.
So 10%. 5.5 games up in their division.
I'll tell you this: if you flip that and Padres were in that position,
yeah, it'd be interesting.
I think I have a difficult time
not trying to get Skubal.
It's such a tough position because you literally have the man for 2 months.
That's the thing. You have a 10% chance of winning the World Series.
We got one of the games on right now, and every time I look up and I see CJ Abrams and I see James Wood, it's like a piercing knife that just keeps going in. And again, it's like the what if of you got this guy for 2 months and the number one overall prospect in all of baseball is going to
somewhere else for
Detroit.
6 years.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I don't feel
what if
the
Skubal
same.
Then just signed back with Detroit?
That would be unbelievable. You know, it's funny. And I think most Padres fans agree with you that they see Abrams, they see James Wood. They're like, man, what could have been? I don't look at it like that. I look at it like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Took a shot. Didn't work out. With the benefit of hindsight, I'm with you. I wouldn't do it. If I knew everything that was going to play out, I'll take Wood and Abrams right now. I'd love to see him on the Padres. But it's like, you took a shot. That's what life's about. It's a risk-reward calculation. I think at the time it made sense for Soto. Now, on the other side,
it's a tough one. I mean, I would just say that's why I keep going when we talk about the trade deadline. What's the word that I keep saying with Preller? I'm like, just don't be reckless.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even measured. Don't be reckless. That's my concern with him. I think there are times he is reckless, and sometimes you could be reckless when it's all about competition and you're so desperate to win and you keep doubling down and doubling down. And that's kind of the spiral that the Padres find themselves in.
I would agree. That's fair. Don't be reckless. And I don't think this time around he will be.
Yeah, and I don't think I think we've got to a point too where I think that juice, I don't think, especially you got new ownership in here, I don't think it's the same juice that it was a year ago.
What's your reaction? And we got a break. What's your reaction if you go to your phone on Monday?
Yeah.
And Ethan Salas has just been traded? Forget about I don't even know who for. Ethan Salas gone. You see it. The first person to tell you. I texted to you. Someone tells you your buddy.
I'll give you the word.
Is traded.
Give you the word. Reckless. Reckless. It's like somebody that's got no control.
It's like, stop using your credit card. You
That's what I
finally
would tell
got
you.
back to a
That's
reasonable
what I would tell
debt.
you. I would tell you
stop
reckless.
using
That's
it.
what I would say. Kirk Morrison coming up at 5.
Oh, I thought you were okay. Kirk Morrison on the other side. But if you want a 4-pack of tickets to see Santana, call us right now. Caller 4, you are going to see Santana. Call right now, though, if you want those tickets. 877-767-4760. We have a free 4-pack of tickets to see Santana and the Doobie Brothers, August 11th at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. Tickets at Ticketmaster.com. Caller 4, you are going with 4 free tickets. The number to call is 877-767-4760. Kirk Morrison next on San Diego Sports 760.
Here's what's trending from the iHeart Sports Network, presented by iHeartAdvertising.com. The Padres and Giants are down at Petco Park getting set for game 1 of their series tonight. It's going to be JP Sears going for the Friars, and varying sources, ESPN says Robbie Ray's going for the Giants, and MLB TV says it's TBD. So we'll see who shows up at 6:40 when the game starts. In NFL news, the Saints and wide receiver Chris Olave have signed a 4-year extension worth up to $132 million, including $90 million of it guaranteed. Run a business and not thinking about radio? Think again, because people are listening to radio more today than they did 20 years ago. And only iHeartRadio connects with more Americans than TV, digital, and even social. Learn how radio can help your business. Call 844-844-iHeart.
It's Schaefer and Sliwa. Sean Schaefer, San Diego's own Alan Sliwa. Here's Schaefer and Sliwa.
All right, final hour here on San Diego Sports 760, home of the Aztecs. Let's talk some football this hour. I know you recently had Kirk Morrison on the show when I was off one day.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago.
The Aztec for life. One of the most decorated players in the history of San Diego State, across all athletics. 2-time All-American, 2-time Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year. Kirk Morrison joining us right now on Schaefer and Sliwa, San Diego Sports 760. Kirk, first of all, thank you. I had seen on social media, you expressed your condolences following the passing of an outstanding football player, obviously in Billy Ray Smith, who spent so much time obviously in San Diego as well. So what role did he play, for those that didn't see it? What role did he play for you in your playing and then later broadcasting careers as well?
Oh, man, appreciate you having me, fellas. Billy Ray was my guy. When I first got to San Diego State, Billy Ray was the man around town. He was a Chargers legend. And in a city that had a professional sports team and you had the college team right there, you aspired to be what the pros were in the city. And no star was bigger, I think, in San Diego, honestly, than Billy Ray Smith. He was all over television. He was all over the radio. And, as a San Diego State Aztec football player, he was the guy that was doing the features on Cron 4, or SD on SD4.
Channel 4, that's right. That's
Channel 4, yeah. And he did a couple of those pieces and that I was a part of. And sitting down with Billy Ray Smith and just talking football, man, he always had a great smile on his face. He had those great stories, a great laugh, and the dude just had a football voice too. You know what I mean? That really carried over through radio. So, for me, growing up in San Diego in terms of my college years, the two guys who I really looked up to, honestly, to be real, was Junior Seau and then also Billy Ray Smith, because they both, they were what I wanted to be. Like, you wanted to be the all-pro linebacker in the NFL, and then I've always wanted to be a broadcaster, even when I was at San Diego State, and a lot of that was because I saw what Billy Ray was doing. So, those were my two big influences, man. But to see both of those guys now gone, San Diego legends, man, it's been a tough couple of days now since I heard the news.
R.I.P. to Billy Ray Smith. Kirk Morrison here, taking some time to join us here on the Schaefer and Sliwa show. Kirk, there's no easy transition from that, but you are now part of the Raiders radio broadcast, and I want to get your thoughts here. We're getting closer here to our first preseason game, Hall of Fame game. What is that? Coming up Thursday, August 6th, so a week from today. You look at that AFC West and you look at the Las Vegas Raiders. Just your thoughts on that division, and we can take a more broad look, but what do you make of this upcoming season for the AFC West and the Raiders?
I mean, it's going to be fun. I mean, think of how fun that division is going to be. Last year you had the Denver Broncos, who are in the AFC Championship game, and if a healthy Bo Nix plays, they're probably playing against the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl. The Chargers, they also made the playoffs a year ago. Now they have a new D coordinator because Mentor becomes the head coach over in Baltimore, but they also add Mike McDaniel as their, offensive coordinator. So there's a team that made the playoffs, and they're hoping to reload offensively with a new offensive coordinator. And as crazy as it sounds, we had a playoff for the first time, and it seems like forever, that the Kansas City Chiefs weren't even a part of.
True.
So we know what the AFC West is going to be, a gauntlet, and especially now with the Raiders and, what they've acquired, Kirk Cousins and obviously Fernando Mendoza for the future. The AFC West, as I said, it's going to be the funnest division, man. I mean, both Wests. I call it the West. AFC West NFC West.
Oof.
Those are the two divisions in the NFL that are going to be fun. Now, if you're looking for a competitive division that you can't guess, that'd be the NFC South, because you have like no idea. I've looked at the Vegas wagers and no one's putting their money or their mortgage down like, this team's going to win. But I love the way that the AFC West will shape out this year, because a lot of people are saying Denver. Then you still have the Chargers and what they're doing with Jim Harbaugh. But then you have to look at, okay, are the Kansas City Chiefs going to be back? And then what are the Raiders going to do? So it's going to be interesting, man. Very interesting.
Yeah, it really will. And again, the NFL will be here, at least with preseason action, within a week. Kirk Morrison is with us right now on Schaefer and Sliwa. You briefly touched on Fernando Mendoza. I think he's a fascinating player. You probably remember the game, Kirk, 2 years ago. San Diego State played a Cal. He was good in that game, but it was like a 21-7 game. Then he just completely burst onto the scene last year. So what have you seen? What makes him so special that he vaulted all the way up to where he was taken this year?
Before I answer that question, Chef, I got to go back to something you said.
Yeah.
Like, you said you had a day off the last time I was on. Like, when did you take days off? I never. I came on the show and I was like, damn, Josh Schaefer had a day off. Like, dude, you are the hardest working dude I know.
I appreciate
How the hell you take a day off?
Where was I?
It was an emergency.
I was at the White House. No, I'm just kidding.
What was it actually? Was it actually a planned vacation, or was it not?
You know what? Kirk,
I didn't know if it was a vacation.
Real quick, I was in Big Sur.
Yeah, did some voiceovers.
I know. I was
Big Sur.
I had no cell service in Big Sur. I was such a fish out of water because all I do is work, to your point, and I was away. But anyway.
No, you're good, man. You're good, man. No, man, Fernando was great, man. I actually had a chance to sit down and talk with him today after practice. I tease him a little bit, obviously, because of his California ties, going into Cal Berkeley. And, I grew up and went to high school not too far away from Cal Berkeley. So I tease him about some of the local eateries that are over there. So it always gets a smile on his face. But you talk about one of the most genuine people that I've ever met. And then we're talking about adult, NFL, high school, it doesn't matter. This dude wants to work. It was funny. I was telling my wife just a little bit earlier that I don't know if we deserve Fernando Mendoza, to be honest. I really don't, because the dude gives like thoughtful and insightful answers. Like John and Al, like seriously, like he gives today someone asked him a question, right, fellas? And they're like, oh, so how do you compare day one versus day two? And anybody else was, we're a little bit better today. We're a little crisper, and we're just getting our feet underneath us. That's what a normal answer would be from other players. But Fernando Mendoza breaks it down like, it's part of the process of being great. And if we want to be great, we have to take what we learn on day number one. We apply that. We go back to our rooms and we go to and look at the film, and we look at one or two or three things that we want to be better at. And we apply those to what the day brings us to next day, and we attack it. And when we attack the day, you see why we were able to have a much better, much crisper practice, because I'm like, dude, we're not like, thank you, Fernando. Like, appreciate it. Like, now I feel like I'm not doing enough in my day to day. You know what I mean? So it is, look, if this dude is not successful, it's not because he didn't put the time, the effort, the work in. He truly has been, it's been fun to watch him. And he had a couple throws today at practice, fellas, that you're saying, we know Kirk Cousins is kind of the starter for training camp, but man, Fernando is putting it all together, and it looks to be he's doing it pretty quickly, and we'll see what it looks like as the rest of camp continues.
8-year NFL vet, part of the ESPN college football broadcast, plus the Raiders radio broadcast. Kirk Morrison taking some time to join us here on the Schaefer and Sliwa show. Kirk, just real quick just to follow up on the Kirk Cousins and to be there, you can call it, for Mendoza. What do you think of that dynamic, that the pressure's not on the number one overall pick? Here are the keys to the franchise. Go make it happen. Just that philosophy in general. Do you like? I think for me, growing up watching the NFL, it was common to have, and these high draft picks, give them some time to progress. Do you think that what kind of benefit do you think that has to Mendoza?
Yeah. So I think the story that I use, and when I really started covering the NFL, it was the first year the Rams came back to Los Angeles, and when I was on the Rams broadcast team, I always remember that first year they came back in 2016, and Jeff Fisher was the head coach. The Rams had drafted Jared Goff, number one overall, out of Cal. And immediately everybody's like, okay, when's Jared Goff going to play? When's he going to play? And Jeff Fisher made Jared Goff the number 3 quarterback, inactive quarterback. It's like, wait, this is the number 1 overall pick. You traded up to get him, right? No, they traded up with the Tennessee Titans to get that pick. And you mean to tell me he's not your day 1 starter? No, they didn't do it. It was Case Keenum actually started the season that year. Okay. And then behind him was Sean Mannion, who currently is the offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. But they didn't start him right away. And I thought everyone was ridiculing, but I thought that was probably great for him to keep a headset in his ear for the first half of the season, learn what it is to be an NFL quarterback, go through the rigors of how do you study, how do you analyze, how do you be an NFL quarterback. He got his opportunity about halfway through the season, and you saw the flashes of why he was the number 1 overall pick. And I think overall, for the totality of his career so far, I think it helped him. I always bring that example up because I think that'll be the same situation when it comes to Fernando Mendoza. He may be the 3rd quarterback for the Raiders, and yet it's not because of talent. It's because they wanted him to wait and his opportunity will come. If you're the backup quarterback in the NFL, fellas, we already know. Kirk Cousins goes in the concussion protocol. Fernando goes in if he's the backup. If he goes in the game, he's not coming out. You know what I mean? Like my buddy Peter Schrager always says, once the toothpaste is out of the tube, you can't put it back in. Like you can't take him out of the game. You show that he can go and play. Okay, Fernando, you're in. And it's hard to take him off the field. So that's the part, I think, Alan, that I try to figure out is when is the perfect time or when will he be ready? But you have, I think, a veteran quarterback in Kirk Cousins that gives this team an ability and an opportunity to win ball games right now as you develop Fernando.
Kirk, I need to ask you about the Aztecs, and we could talk to you for an hour, but I need to ask you about the Aztecs. Sean Lewis in his 3rd year. I know you're watching as close as any with your obviously your history as one of the greats at San Diego State. How do you feel about the overall state of the program under Sean heading into this new look league? What's your level of optimism for the year?
I think, honestly, should they not be the favorite to win the Pac-12?
Sure, yeah.
I mean, I put them in that conversation right now. You go to the Pac-12, this is now the conference that, let's be honest, it should have been in 5-6 years ago when they first had it the first time. But I think this is where you dominate a conference from the beginning. It's not about Boise State or Oregon State and Washington State and everybody who's joining in. To me, this should be a conference that San Diego State dominates. And it really comes down to what Jaden does this year at quarterback, Jaden Dinegal. He has, to me, develop a little bit more and show more of a prowess of the passing game. I know what he can do when the ball's in his hands and he's running the football and things like that, but outside of handing the ball to Lucky, I want to see him make some of those throws and connections down the field, really open up this offense, John. I know you see the big plays that are there to be made. Just want to see more of them this year. And I think that's what it comes down to. The defense is going to be fine, right? You know, I'm always watching Latuli and, you know, my linebackers. I love what those guys do, but I really want to see this offense really be explosive. Because, look, San Diego State has always been about a passing game. Now they've been about the running game. Now I want to see them kind of mirror themselves and see this offense be explosive, not just on the ground, but more importantly, I want to see it explosive in the air.
Kirk, final one for you. And I know we got, obviously a ways to go here. The Pac-12 just starting. What big picture for you? What would be in a perfect world? What does the Pac-12 look like in the next 5 years or so? Do you think there's some opportunities? We've heard J.D. Wicker, the athletic director of San Diego State University, say that they're lean for a reason, and the hope is for it to expand. What would you like to see from this conference over the next 5 years?
You know, I'm not giving you a cop-out answer, Alan. I want to be more in-depth with this answer, but I do have a college football seminar coming up in about a week, August 4th and 5th, with as I get ready for the ESPN college football season. I will know more where college football is kind of shifting to. We've already seen it had a lot of these media days, and you see where the Big Ten is heading. You see where the Big 12 is heading, and they've got a corporate deal with Monster, right? So they'll be wearing Monster patches on their jerseys, right? So you're seeing what Chase Bank is now going to be a sponsor for Ohio State, right? You're looking at all these different sponsorships that are around. I think SoFi is going to be on some uniform.
Notre Dame.
I can't wait to see. Notre Dame. I mean, what are the Aztecs? I know the Aztecs got to get one. Like, I was thinking about it. Yeah, my buddies were saying, like, are the Aztecs going to be sponsored by Keg and Bottle? You know what I'm saying? I have a little Keg and Bottle patch on there. That was just my group chat. We'll talk about that. But, I mean, it really is the answer to your question, though, Alan. And I think we will see in terms of what these conferences are allowed to do and what these teams are allowed to do as you start to continue trying to brand and also bring in private equity, because this is now a money game. This is now an arms race of how you can acquire talent through, the money that you're able to get. So we'll see what that looks like for the Pac-12 as the SEC continues to kind of control its dominance and what they're able to, dish out to all of their teams. That's why I think it's a really big year that the Pac-12 really has to have a year. And hopefully they have a couple of teams that can really make some noise and get into the playoff. I thought it was huge last year for James Madison and, the Tulanes of the world and, those types of teams that can get in and really, pretty much say, hey, look, the scale of college football is for everyone. Let's make some noise. That's why I want the Pac-12 to really make some noise this year. Put San Diego State, hopefully we can get into a playoff and really make some noise.
There you go. Great insight and perspective. The great Kirk Morrison, again, the former All-American, Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year. You can hear him on Raiders broadcast this season right here as well on San Diego Sports 760. Kirk, appreciate you doing it, man. Be well. We'll do it again
Thank
soon.
you, brother. Appreciate you.
Hey, always a pleasure, man. John Allen, talk to you guys soon, brother.
Appreciate you. Great stuff. Really great stuff from Kirk Morrison. We've got updates on the health of Joe Musgrove and Nick Pivetta to share with you on the other side. Stay with us. All right, hey guys, it is Schaefer again for my friends at the all-new Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. Get there this summer with the hotel and spa at Jamul Casino Resort. You're going to love it. You can experience elevated luxury with their refined hotel stay, rooftop relaxation, indulgent spa treatments, all the excitement of Jamul Casino Resort seamlessly brought together in one unforgettable destination. Now you can take your stay to the next level with exclusive hotel packages crafted for the ultimate escape. While you're there, especially this summer, you'll love Starlight Pool. It's next level chill. You can soak up the sun, soak in the views. It's San Diego's ultimate rooftop pool. Day passes start at just $40. So grab your friends, relax, make it a pool day to remember. Make sure to check out all the great food options at Jamul, like Jamul 23 with their lobster buffet every day. You can enjoy all-you-can-eat lobster every day, plus dozens of other delicious stations. Start your morning with their new signature breakfast buffet. That's Monday through Friday, 8 to 10:30, with made-to-order omelets, fresh fruit, and sweet and savory favorites at the all-new Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place.
All right, with the iHeartRadio app, you can stream us wherever you are 24 hours a day. Just search for San Diego Sports 760 to stream us live all day, every day. We can leave your you can leave your comments for us using the TalkBack microphone. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't like, what you want us to talk about. Make us a preset so we pop up each time you open up the app, San Diego Sports 760, always live on the iHeartRadio app.
If you missed our conversation with Wayne Randazzo, he'll be on the call for Apple TV tomorrow night, Padres-Giants. You'll hear that coming up in about 10 minutes. We have updates, right, Alan, on both Joe Musgrove and Nick Pivetta. What's the and then this comes, of course, from the manager, Craig Stammen.
Yeah, I saw this. Do we have? We saw this from Annie Halberin on Twitter.
Yeah.
Joe Musgrove is throwing well into the 90s with velo.
Okay.
He said, feels good with the majority of his pitches, still working through maintaining consistency each inning and needs to build up, but says his arm has been feeling significantly better and is recovering better.
All right, so that's Musgrove.
Yeah.
Is throwing into the 90s.
Yeah.
Is there an update at all on Nick Pivetta?
Yeah, I thought I saw one too. Let me see if I can find that.
So what would you say though would you call that encouraging with Musgrove? I mean, does that scream like he's going to be ready in a couple
I'll
of weeks?
throw one more.
Yeah.
Craig Stammen says that both Joe Musgrove and Nick Pivetta threw 2 simulated innings yesterday. Next steps for both to be determined.
I don't know what to make of that. You know what I mean? Like, am I supposed to be hopeful, pessimistic, optimistic?
Honestly, to me, like any news about those 2 players, I'm like
good,
excited.
Okay.
I mean, to take Annie's tweet, the fact that he was throwing in the 90s, I don't know what to tell you, man. But I think there is such a desperation to get one of those 2 guys back, if not both, that any news to me, other than, right, like Jason Adam had some news, was it earlier this week, where it was like, hey, kind of took a little bit of a step back.
Yeah.
Now it's late August, early September is when you can get him.
He had said that, yeah.
And until I hear something like that on Pivetta and Musgrove, any news I hear, I'm just assuming is a step forward.
I want to play this game with you. The game is called Over or Under.
Okay.
10 innings thrown by Joe Musgrove in the major leagues this year.
I'll go over.
Okay. So maybe a few starts, you're saying.
And the only reason why I'm going over is because I mentioned to you earlier in the week, you know, Marty Caswell had some sound with Joe Musgrove and basically Musgrove said that she asked him basically point blank, are you pitching again this year? And he said yes.
Okay.
So I think only because of that, that's the only reason. Plus, we've heard Kevin Acee say that part of what the Padres are, part of their calculation here of what to do is thinking that one or both of these guys will be available at some point in August.
All right, I'll do it now with Pivetta a little differently.
Mm-hmm.
The over-under is 4.5 starts. Over or under?
I'd say under, because I also think there'll probably be a ramp up for him. He doesn't have to necessarily come in and, hey, here's the ball from the start of the game, go give us 6 innings. I think that Pivetta could be a 3 innings here, 4 innings there. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to. I mean, look at the way the Padres are piecing things together right now.
Pitching chaos, I think they've called it.
Yeah, maybe he kind of goes into that mix in order for him to get back.
Man, I hope we see them both. I really do. But again, it's a bit of hope.
I know it is.
It's a bit of hope.
I know it is.
But I do.
But they're back in the news. They're conversation.
Yeah.
They're actually pitching.
Right.
So this isn't one of those where there's absolutely no traction at all, and it's just a matter of when they're going to shut them down.
I agree.
It's not that.
Do you want to hear from Wayne Randazzo?
I do.
All right. We had Wayne Randazzo. He's on the call of Padres-Giants Game 2 tomorrow on Apple TV. Really insightful conversation you're going to want to hear. If you missed it, you'll hear it coming up next on Schaefer and Sliwa, San Diego Sports 760. We're live on the iHeartRadio app.
Here's what's trending from the iHeart Sports Network, presented by iHeartAdvertising.com. Padres and Giants are down at Petco getting set for game 1 of their series tonight. It's going to be JP Sears going for the Padres, and not quite sure who's going for the Giants. We're getting kind of conflicted reports, so we'll see who trots out there at 6:40. In NFL news, the Saints and wide receiver Chris Olave have agreed to a 4-year extension worth $132 million, including $90 million guaranteed. Run a business and not thinking about radio? Think again, because people are listening to radio today more than they did 20 years ago. And only iHeartRadio connects with more Americans than TV, digital, and even social. Learn how radio can help your business. Call 844-844-iHeart.
I need to turn my mic on. Wayne Randazzo.
You don't have to.
Brian, I have no idea where we start the conversation with Wayne Randazzo. Oh yeah, like where he sees the Padres in the whole
mix of the
wild card teams in the National League. Now he is going to be calling Friday's game.
Yep, tomorrow's game against the Giants. Good perspective too, because he's looking at things more from, let's just say, it's not a hometown opinion.
It's a good point.
It's not. I mean, I think he's going against a lot of what the Padres are doing philosophically too.
Where do the Padres fit in the NL?
It's it's a wild card cluster of mediocrity. I mean, these are all teams that are in the mix, but also teams that have plenty of flaws. Whether it's the Padres or the Diamondbacks or the Marlins or whoever. I mean, you kind of take your pick. Pirates. Whatever team ends up in this second or third wild card. I mean, you could even throw the Phillies in there right now too. That you're gonna see teams get in that may not have a really strong chance to win the whole thing. So that's why it makes the trade deadline to me so interesting. Is that will some of these teams that seem like they're in it, and in terms of the standings they are in it, but are they really contenders to win the whole thing? And do they feel like they should add, or do they feel like they should just sell off some parts because they're not terribly serious about winning the World Series this year? So we'll see how it shakes out here in the next few days. But I think the Padres are just kind of in that cluster right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, looking at San Diego, Wayne, just, from your definition of a team that is just trying to get to the postseason, what do you think that balance is of saying, all right, we try to improve as best as we can? It doesn't sound like the Padres, they won't be able to go crazy at this deadline, but how much do you think the calculation is, well, if you get into the playoffs, anything can happen, and we've seen this happen before in baseball. Is that a good strategy? Well, as long as we just get into the dance, anything can happen from there.
It seems like that's happening. To me, it seems like that's happening less and less. I think that you're seeing teams that are really built for October succeed in October over the last 3 or 4 years. And I think the examples of a team just getting in and riding it out and having some lucky bounces, it just feels like that doesn't happen as much as it was happening in maybe the previous decade. I don't know. I mean, yeah, of course, the Padres have a lot of talent, and that's why you can make the argument that they should believe, because, Machado's been hitting more, Merrill's been hitting more, Tatis is always a guy who can win a baseball game single-handedly. You have Miller at the end of the game, and frankly, the Padres bullpen is a huge strength for them, and in October would be a big deal for them. So you can understand why the Padres would feel differently than some of these other teams in the wild card because of the talent that they do have. But you also have to look at the big picture in terms of these contracts that probably are not going to look very good in the next couple of years, and the fact that for the entirety of this season, some of these guys haven't played that well. So I'm glad I don't have to make these decisions, because these are not easy decisions to make, and it could easily backfire no matter which way you go.
It's a good point. Wayne Randazzo is with us. He'll be on the call tomorrow night. Apple TV, national broadcast, Padres and Giants. Alan was just making this point, like there's so much attention on the deadline. The Padres need to remain focused, obviously, on the task at hand this weekend, for example, at home against the Giants, who are 16 games under 500. The Giants should be sellers conceivably over the next couple of days as well. How do you see where these two franchises are today and how this series might shake out?
Yeah, it should be just like the last one for the Padres. They really got to fatten up this week. They did a good job against the Rockies doing that, and now they need to do the same thing against the Giants. San Francisco has a little more major league talent, I guess, right now than Colorado does, but they just lost one of their best hitters. Casey Schmidt needed knee surgery, so he's out. And the Giants already have plenty of holes anyway. Matt Chapman is not out there. So, the Padres should be heavily favored to at least win two. And at this time of the season, these are the kinds of teams that you really need to sweep and take all three of them.
Wayne, as we look at just what has played out for the Padres, they've won 5 games in a row. They started out after the All-Star break, they started out 2-5. We're really struggling, and they win these 5 games, but it's not against the best competition at the time. With Miami, they had lost 9 in a row, end up losing 12 in a row after the Padres sweep them, and then we know where the Rockies are. How do you look at, when you look at San Diego and certainly some of their flaws, how do you think they match up against these other potential wild card teams, the Arizonas of the world, the St. Louis Cardinals, the Nationals, just in that mix? Let's forget the elite in the NL, but in the mix of some of these teams that we're referring to.
Yeah, if you're just looking at it in that regard, I think they match up well. I think that, outside of the Cubs, who I think are a little bit more of a fine-tuned machine and have their offense clicking, and they'll probably get some pitching at the trade deadline. I think the Cubs are in a little bit of a different class in the wild card than the others. But you look at from the Phillies on down, I think the Padres stack is fine. I think they have more talent than most of these teams. I think if their guys have good second halves, the guys that you would rely on, the big name value players for them, that the Padres should win more games than those other teams do. And, that's why I think in their case, if you're just looking at trying to make the playoffs for this season, well, you don't want to give up on that necessarily, because the Padres probably should make the playoffs this season. Whether they will or will not remains to be seen. But I would think that they believe that they should make the postseason. I think if you're looking, though, at the health of this franchise for the next 3 to 5 years, what's getting out from some of these contracts is probably important, unless they don't care and they just fill it up and the contracts are meaningless to them and the money is such that they can spend it and it doesn't really bother them. But if it does, and they need to think about how the health of this organization looks from a contractual standpoint, getting out from some of these contracts might be important to them, and they could use either the trade deadline now or the off season to try to do that.
Wayne, how do you see the trade deadline playing out around baseball with the looming lockout? Will that play a role in what we're going to see over the course of the next 4 days or not?
No, I don't think so. I think the trade deadline will be as normal. The teams that need to sell will. I think some of these teams, and the Angels are one of them, that have some really good players with a few years left or 2 or 3 years left of team control, that could net a big package for them at the trade deadline here. I think the teams that have those types of players to trade will end up doing well at the deadline if they do make those moves. And I think the rental players will still go for the same rate. So I don't think the lockout or anything that could potentially be looming from a CBA standpoint will affect anything. And it doesn't even seem like it's affecting, we've seen a lot of contract extensions over the course of this season. A lot of young players have been locked up long-term by various teams. So, for the most part, it seems like the league is operating, business as usual.
When you get a chance to, obviously be by doing your Apple broadcast, you're seeing a lot of different markets, a lot of different teams, fan bases, and everything else. How do you think fans view the way the structure of Major League Baseball is today? I'm sure it benefits some markets. It hurts other markets. There's even some of the smaller markets that are finding ways to be successful. But just overall as a whole, how do you think the way baseball is structured is perceived around the country?
I think the only unfairness that people seem to point out is what the Dodgers have going on, that they can sign these types of contracts and it doesn't really affect them whether those contracts end up being good for them or not. Kyle Tucker gets an enormous deal, way more money than he should have. He's really not played well this year, and it doesn't affect the Dodgers' win-loss total. It doesn't affect their bottom line. It doesn't hamper them in any way, shape, or form. That Tucker is a bad contract. It might be a terrible contract by the time it's over. Edwin Diaz has not given them anything this year, and again, it just doesn't matter that they go on and they do what they do anyway. because they've been structured in a way where they can handle those types of deals blowing up on them. And I think other than the Dodgers, I think teams feel like they have a fair shot for the most part. Obviously, you'd rather be in a big market and spend money and this and that, but the Brewers don't. Cleveland doesn't. Pittsburgh even this year is in the wild card race, and they haven't spent a lot of money, although they did beef up their offense a little bit. You don't need to spend a lot of money to be successful, but I do think you need to spend some. And I think the teams that have at least put in some value into player development or spend some money on even mid-level free agents are seeing that pay off. But I think it's almost like 29 against 1 because the Dodgers kind of have a different set of standards and rules based on their TV money and based on what they can handle from a financial standpoint than anyone else can.
Wait, just a quick follow-up to that. Is that just because there's one Shohei Ohtani? Is that the Ohtani effect and how they were able to take advantage of that, whether you could say differently from Anaheim, but just, how much of what you're saying is the Ohtani effect and how much of it you think is just a bunch of different factors?
I think it's mostly a bunch of different factors. I think, Shohei to some degree give them some flexibility by having the incredible deferral money that he took on. And that is true. But you also have the TV money for them is so gargantuan compared to the rest of the league, and they don't have to share it like the rest of the league does. They have a financial ownership group that just can swallow up so much more money than other teams. They just lost the Lakers as well. They are just playing by a different standard overall. And, Shohei's deferral helps, but TV money, just the length of where their ownership can take it financially, it's just different. And I think that's what allows them to be head and shoulders operating at a different level than any of the other 29 teams, the Yankees included.
25 years, $8.35 billion, by the way, in that TV deal, averages to $335 million a year. For perspective, I think Kevin Acey told us yesterday the Padres make $30 million right now in TV, or 11 times less than the Dodgers receive right now.
That sounds like a good structure for everybody.
That really is incredible.
That sounds great.
It really is incredible. Wayne, we appreciate you taking time. Safe travels down here, and we'll watch you on the call. We're looking forward to it tomorrow night on Apple.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
All right. Wayne Randazzo will be calling the game tomorrow on Apple TV.
I think he's a little critical about this franchise.
He was.
That's okay. By the way, I'm okay
He's
with that.
entitled
That's
to that.
not just entitled to it. You can easily make a case for it. So I don't think that's crazy.
Because he's been watching. He's been watching the Angels.
We need the Padres to start shifting their attention. Why do I feel like the game yesterday against the Rockies was
200 days ago? It feels like it was a lifetime
ago.
I
don't feel like the Padres have played a game.
I feel like they've had an all-star break. I completely agree. I haven't seen the Padres in like hours. It's been forever. It was yesterday. It was yesterday afternoon.
I know. But there is this like feel, and you got a lot of people on YouTube that would kind of say had a similar sentiment. There's a little bit of a feel of like, all right, can you get ready and focus on tonight's game and then focus on this series with the San Francisco Giants, this 4-game set?
3 would be nice. 3 out of 4 here, 8-1 stretch. That'd be nice.
I think maybe, listen, if you told me 2-2 and they went 7-2, I'm okay with that as well. But I'm with you because here's what 2-2 is happening. Other teams in the NL that you're fighting with,
3-1.
Somebody's going to win a couple of games. So you're also, you lose ground in that department.
What would you pay for a piece of cardboard? $10 million? That's next. Schaefer and Slee with San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app. Final time today. Schaefer and Slay with San Diego Sports 760. Alan, did you see the story? I already know the answer. But for our listeners, did you see the story about the $10 million sale of a Topps card?
You know when I saw it?
When?
When I was working on our rundown earlier before you got here.
So there was
this was right down your alley. When I saw that, I'm like,
you put it in the
John's going to spend 45 minutes on this.
So Ohtani had a card in this version of it's a Topps 2026 set that was released, Alan, this week.
Okay.
The Topps set was released this week.
Mm-hmm.
And within the set is something that I guess most people refer to as like a chase card. Like the biggest chase in the set is, can you land this Ohtani card with 2 autographs, one in English and one in Japanese, and 2 special uniform patches essentially on it. They're called logo men. The back of the jersey has the MLB logo on it. It's got 2 of those logos in the card.
So there's one of these that go out.
One in the entire tens of thousands of packs that are available nationwide and worldwide. It's more than tens of thousands of packs, maybe hundreds of thousands of packs. Someone bought a box.
Think about internationally.
Yeah, in Japan.
People that are buying these. So it's a Topps
Chrome
baseball.
And someone buys a box in Boca, Florida. And in this box is the 1-of-1 Shohei Ohtani dual gold logo man autograph card. He immediately spins it to someone that had a bounty for the card, almost an organization, by the way, almost PE.
So what do you mean by a bounty for the card?
Someone puts on social media, whoever finds this card, I'll give you $10 million. You find this card, come to me. I'll overpay for the card, in theory. $10 million. It's one of the biggest sales in the history of sports cards. And it all happened within one day, which I personally don't like, because when you pull that card and you sell it the same day to the bounty, like nobody else has an opportunity. Maybe if it was auction, that price would actually be higher if other people had the possibility of also going after the card. So I don't love that, but this collector just walked away with $10 million.
Yeah, I'm with you on the I'm probably holding on to it. I'm taking my time. I'm probably even saying, like, I don't think I have any interest in selling. It's not going to lose any value. I'm assuming so. But that is interesting that all happened in one day. This is probably somebody, whoever ended up with a card. Did they release the guy's name or no? Doesn't matter. Anyways.
Do you know who bought it, though?
No.
You know Kevin O'Leary, Shark Tank?
Oh, yeah.
He's got this firm.
He's got a huge thing going with cards, doesn't he?
He's buying them up, but he's only getting it's him and other investors are buying like portions of the cards. Like, they spend $1 million, but there's like 3 or 4 people behind the investment. They're treating it like assets as opposed to cards.
I've seen that. I've seen him at some point talk about how like this is completely blown up and some of the other cards that he's purchased, something along those lines. I'm probably waiting, but this is somebody that said to himself, wait a minute here. I just got this card randomly. I bought this freaking box.
Give me the money.
And it's worth $10 million. Do I need to like...
If you get cute, here's the problem with holding on to the card seriously.
Yeah.
Now, Ohtani's legacy is pretty secure. Different. We can even say it in San Diego.
I think if you're saying Paul Skeens, or if you're saying like if there's other players, I think that's different.
Well, hear me out. Ohtani could be like... He could be involved in a betting scandal. I mean, just throwing that out.
Interesting.
Like, that's just hypothetically speaking. Like, what if Ohtani was involved in a betting scandal?
Right.
Could that potentially impact the future of his card market?
It hasn't.
It has not. But you're right. I mean, can you imagine pulling a card worth $10 million?
Yeah.
What would you do if you... Now, it's an Ohtani Dodger card. What if you're the one, you open the pack, it's Shohei Ohtani with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
What's your initial reaction? Because it's still an Ohtani card. And I know how you are with the Dodgers.
Yeah, I'm still cool with it. I'm about to get. Well, I'm not. I mean, I'm about to get paid. It's not like I'm keeping it for my life. I'm just trying to use that card to go buy a couple apartment complexes and call it a day.
Would you? You wouldn't take that $10 million and call Jose Feliciano and be like, "Yo, I got 10 of the 280 you need for Xander." You wouldn't put it into the Padres investment?
I'd rather call Dean's dumbass and say, "Could I get him back down here for 10?"
No,
that's what I got. That's all I got.
You can't for 10, Alan.
That's all I got, Dean.
10's a lot for anyone, but it's not as much for a professional sports organization now.
It's not getting you an NFL team.
But it is kind of like, it's like how everyone thinks they're going to win the lotto. Mm-hmm. You know, you play Powerball, it's up to $1 billion, or you do it with like.
Maybe I go to Kroenke and say, "Hey, I want in on this Midway Rising project that can't get approved in San Diego."
You're going to need more than 10.
Yeah, I know. It's not going to do it. They'll give me like a curb. They give me one parking spot in the building, in the arena.
Exactly.
Like, you own that spot. Any revenue that comes in, that spot only, you get that.
Can I say this? Before I found out that this card was pulled, I considered buying a box of Topps Chrome. Because I'm like, oh, like there's a chance you could win a $10 million card. But now that the card's been pulled, I'm like, I'm good.
The biggest thing this story will do, which is very similar to the lotto, and listen, I'm just not a lotto player. I'm not doing it. But when they say, hey, that lotto is up to
a bill,
300 mil.
Yep.
Now you get this influx of people going out and buying more. Hey, it's up to 500 mil.
Right.
Another influx. What this card selling for $10 million will do, there are a lot more people now that know about this, a lot more boxes and cards are going to be sold moving forward because of that card.
I will say I've been collecting obviously over the last like 18 months.
Yeah.
I've had a hard time. I mean, my wife is on board with it because for me it's been, but she's not fully on board.
You know why I know she's not?
Why?
Why do you think I know she's not?
Because of the way I just said it?
No.
Why?
Because you have cards shipped to the station and not to the house.
You're getting your mail at the station. I'm walking around. This guy's wearing a robe and having coffee at 9 a.m. reading the newspaper.
No, she's understanding. But like, there's no world where I could walk into it. That's hilarious. No, but there's no world where I could walk into like a card show and break out like $1,000 and buy a card in front of my wife. Like $1,000 is a lot of money, is it not?
Of course. Yeah.
But like in the card game, man, there's people spending tens of thousands of dollars every single day.
I think if you were able to show her like, hey, look, I invested $1,000 and now 6 months later that card's worth $400. I only lost $600. Then
the lottery.
Babe, are we trying to win or not?
No, I know the games. I'm having success.
You tell her this.
Yeah.
Say, I've been covering AJ Preller for 10 years. We gamble here in San Diego.
That's exactly right.
We gamble.
I'll try that. All right. So tomorrow on the show, we're a day closer to the trade deadline, and Kevin Acee is going to join us again on Friday afternoon.
Reacting to the Padres-Giants tonight. Hopefully a W for the Padres.
That'll be 6 straight.
Mm-hmm.
They win tonight. And again, trade deadline, just 4 games separate the Padres from the deadline. Will they make a move before the actual deadline?
So Atlanta took a 5-3 lead on the Nationals.
I like that.
We're so early for us to be doing this, but how pathetic. How many different, not even just standings, how many different teams do we have to watch now? Because there's 83 teams in the wild card mix.
Pittsburgh, Miami.
Oh my gosh.
The Nats. Who else tonight?
Can't keep up here.
It's really hard. I agree.
Pittsburgh and Cincinnati are tied to a piece.
Cardinals lost today.
They already lost. Oh, they lost Chicago. Okay.
Wheels have fallen off that.
Take that.
All right. Back tomorrow at 3 p.m. with Kevin Acee on the show. Good stuff today.
Good stuff.
Gentlemen. All right. If you missed anything today, sportssd.com or the iHeartRadio app. Back tomorrow at 3 for Brent and Alan. I'm John. Keep it here. Schaefer and Sliwa, San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app. Peace.